Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad-gītā. And in today's episode, we will be starting the study of the ninth chapter. And the current verse is 9.1, the first verse of the ninth chapter. And the topic is accessing the most confidential wisdom, the most secret wisdom. So we will quickly say our Mangalacharan prayers, invoking the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara, and then we will begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are beginning our study of the ninth chapter. So please share this on the WhatsApp groups and social media so that more people can join. All right. So this is a very important chapter. The most confidential knowledge. The title of the chapter is Rajaguhya, Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yogam. So, as you can see in the second verse itself, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Abhyayam. So, today's verse, so śrī-bhagavān uvāca idaṁ tu te pravakṣyāmy idaṁ tu te guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy anasūyave jñānaṁ vijñāna-sahitaṁ jñātvā mokṣyase śubhāt. So, word to word, śrī-bhagavān uvāca, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Idam, this, tu, but, te, unto you, guhyatamaṁ, the most confidential, pravakṣyāmy, I am speaking, anasūyave, to the non-envious, jñānaṁ, knowledge, vijñāna, realized knowledge, sahitam, with, yat, which, jñātvā, knowing, mokṣyase, you will be released, śubhāt, from this miserable material existence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one second. Is that angle okay? Okay, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, 1 second. Just give me a second here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence." Purport. We will read the whole purport and then we will try to study the whole thing. Purport. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the śrī-bhagavān. The messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge. What verse is this? Um, Not this. I think it's 325:25. 325:25, I think. Full of potency. Katharuchi. Okay. I think it's 325:25. But no, that's slightly different. What verse is this one? Hmm. Anyway, the devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, and gives him the intelligence to understand the signs of Krishna in the association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very important, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement toward spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes in this ninth chapter matters more confidential than any he has already disclosed. The very beginning of Bhagavad-gītā first chapter is more or less an introduction to the rest of the book. And in the second and third chapters, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics discussed in the seventh and eighth chapters are specifically related to devotional service, and because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they are called more confidential. But the matters which are described in the ninth chapter deal with unalloyed pure devotion. Therefore, this is called most confidential. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs, although he is in the material world. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. You know what is that verse? Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikhila swapyavasthasu jivan muktah sa uchyate. Similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad-gītā 10th chapter that anyone who is engaged in that way is a liberated person. 10th chapter. I think it's 10:8, is it? Need to find out. Now, this first verse has specific significance. The words idaṁ jñānaṁ, this knowledge, refer to pure devotional service, which consists of 9 different activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, obeying, maintaining friendship, and surrendering everything. By the practice of these 9 elements of devotional service, one is elevated to spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand the signs of Krishna. Simply to understand that a living entity is not material is not sufficient. That may be the beginning of spiritual realization, but one should recognize the difference between activities of the body and the spiritual activities of one who understands that he is not the body. In the 7th chapter, we have already discussed the opulent potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different energies, the inferior and superior natures, and all this material manifestation. Now, in chapter 9, the glories of the Lord will be delineated. The Sanskrit word anasūyave in this verse is also very significant. Generally, the commentators, even if they are highly scholarly, are all envious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the most erudite scholars write on Bhagavad-gītā very inaccurately. Because they are envious of Krishna, their commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. No one can explain Bhagavad-gītā or give perfect knowledge of Krishna if he is envious. One who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is a fool. So such commentaries should be very carefully avoided. For one who understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure and transcendental personality, these chapters will be very beneficial. Now, there is a lot that we need to unpack in this verse. Has this been shared in the different groups yet? Please share it in the WhatsApp groups and other places, social media, so that people can join. More people can join this. So, all right. So, let's begin. śrī-bhagavān uvāca. So, Krishna is speaking. And idaṁ tu te guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy anasūyave jñānaṁ vijñāna-sahitaṁ jñātvā mokṣyase śubhāt. So, idaṁ. So, the way that Sanskrit is, the words are ordered is a little bit different from English, say, for example, or probably a little bit more similar. So, idaṁ jñānaṁ, idaṁ jñānaṁ. So, if you, I don't know if you have noticed in the purport, you see, the words idaṁ jñānaṁ, this knowledge, refer to pure devotional service. Now, this idaṁ jñānaṁ is not continuously as a phrase in the shloka itself, because it is divided. The words idam and jnanam are divided by many other words. Idam tu te jnanam, idam tu te guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy anasūyave jñānaṁ vijñāna-sahitaṁ jñātvā mokṣyase śubhāt. So actually it is idam jnanam, but he qualified that jnanam as guhyatamaṁ, which is most confidential, and pravakṣyāmy anasūyave. I will speak to you because you are my non-envious one. I will speak to you this most confidential of knowledge, along with realization, knowing which you shall be liberated from this material existence. Śubhāt. Ashubha. Usually in material calculations, we calculate Shubha and Ashubha, auspicious and inauspicious. But in 12th chapter, 16th verse, 17th verse, Shubha Shubha Parityagi. See, Shubha Shubha Parityagi. And in other verses also of Bhagavad-gītā it is stated, what is that? Jnana vijñāna triptātma kūtastho vijitendriyah yukta ityuchyate yogi samaloshrasmakanta. So not that. Even shītoshna sukha dukkheshu, sukha and dukkha. So material happiness we consider as happiness, auspiciousness, and material unhappiness, unhappiness we consider as distress, which is inauspicious. But Shubha-shubha parityagi means, if you say Shubha-shubha parityagi here, and there Krishna is saying you will come out of Ashubha and actually attain Shubha, auspicious. 6-8. Okay. Yes, it's not 5-8, 6-8. No, this is what I actually said. No. Hmm, not this. So anyway, there are I think 422 is also there. I don't know, 422 is it? Sama siddhava siddhaucha. Okay. Um, then in other words, there is 238. Sukha dukhe samay kritva labha labho. Labha alabha. Usually they put Hindus Shubh Labh. In every house there will be on the door Shubh Labh. Auspiciousness and prosperity. This is what they want, material. But Labha Labho, Jaya Jayo, Jaya and Ajaya, victory or defeat. Labha and Alabha, whether in gain or loss. Sukha and Dukha, happiness or distress. So, and also 248 is also, this is mentioned. Siddhi Asiddhi, Asiddhyo, Siddhya Siddhyo, in success and failure. So all these things, these are auspicious and inauspicious things. Now Shubha Shubha Parityag. Whereas now Krishna is saying mokṣyase śubhāt. You will come out of Ashubha. Now it has to be explained, because here when we are talking about Ashubha, so entire material existence is Ashubha. Whether Shubha or Ashubha in this material calculation, it is entirely, the whole thing is Ashubha. And Shubha is the auspicious thing, is the spiritual world or our spiritual life, which is auspicious. So there is still duality. Although now we transcend the duality of this world, but there is a duality between spiritual and material world. So that we cannot. That's why Krishna, in the seventh chapter, beginning of the seventh chapter itself, he explains what is my material energy, what is my spiritual energy, and what is my marginal energy. So he delineates what is his energies. So to come out of the clutches of Maya and to come under the shelter of Yogamaya or Krishna, that is Shubha, the path of Shubha. But to remain in the material world, that is Ashubha. Whether it may be heavenly or hellish planets or earthly planets, everything is Ashubha. So that is what we have to come out of, Ashubha platform. But in the case of Shubha Shubha Parityagi, it is just the material, auspicious and inauspicious things. And at a higher level, Shubha Shubha Parityagi, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nadhanam Nadhanam Najanam Najanam Nadhanam Nasundarim Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahaitu Kitvai. And many other devotees also prayed in the same way. So they do not even want Shubha, which is going back to the spiritual world. Mama Janmani Janmanishware and Ashubha. Whether I be in this material world or in the spiritual world, it doesn't matter. Whether you kill me or you protect me, it doesn't matter. That is the higher understanding of Shubha Shubha Parityagi. That even the Shubha of going back to the spiritual world, he gives up. So what is actually the real Shubha then? What is the Ashubha then? So, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Prabodhananda Saraswati, he explains that the Ashubha is not really staying in the material world, and the Shubha is not really being in the spiritual world. Even that is given up by a pure devotee. To be engaged in Krishna conscious service, that is Shubha, whether in the material or spiritual worlds. Now, Acharyas, Krishna has sent Acharyas like Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and even Rupa Goswami, Narad Muni, all these. They come to this material world and they engage in Krishna's service. They are not in Ashubha. In fact, they Lokanam hitakarinau tribhuvane. What is that? Samsthapako. What is that? Nana Jnana Vicharanaika Nipunau Sadharma Samsthapako. So they have come here to give auspiciousness to the people. Bhutvanam hitakarinau. Hita means for the welfare. Sarva bhuta hiterataha. 5th chapter, 25th verse. So they act for the benefit of all people. And another verse, 5th chapter, 7th verse also. I'm not wrong. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma, who is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. Who preaches basically. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. This line. He is rata means engaged and attached to it. Not just engaged. Rati means attraction. He's attracted to that activity of sarva bhuta hite. Busy working for the welfare of all beings. So this is preaching. So, and whether it is preaching or whatever service, like for Hanuman, it was not exactly preaching, but it was finding Sita and then fighting in the war. All that is service. So whatever service the Lord wants of the devotee is happy to perform, and that is shubha. That engagement is shubha. That's it. They don't even ask for. There are so many verses: 329, 13, 9, 9, 4, 67, and many others. Even Vritrasura is speaking, King Kulashekar is speaking in the Mukundamala Sutra. So many references can be given. That they do not want um, even liberation. Even, not only liberation, even the association of the Supreme Lord, they are not asking. Just engagement in His service is all that they are asking, even if it is away from the Lord. Because the engagement of the Lord in the service of the Lord is so powerful that even in the seeming absence of the Lord, in fact, that absence, like Radharani says, right? There is this verse from Paddyavali in which he says, what is that? Um, um, okay, let me just take out. Viraha Vikalpe. Sangama Viraha Vikalpe. Varamiha Varaho. Varamiha Viraho. Nasangamantasya. Ekasya eva sange. Tribhuvanam api tanmayam virahe. This is the verse. Yes. So that means, this is, I think, if you go to Paddyavali, I think 240th verse, if I am not wrong. Sangama Viraha Vikalpe. Yes. Here we go. This is 240th verse. I don't know if you can see it. You see, Sangama Viraha Vikalpe, Varameha Viraho, Nasangamantasya, Ekah sa eva sange, Tribhuvanam api tanmayam virahe. Separation from Krishna is better than meeting him. When I meet him, there is only one Krishna. But when I am separated from him, the three worlds become filled with Krishnas. So this is, of course, author unknown. But Radharani's feelings are like this. And not only Radharani, I mean, even 6 Goswamis, they were always searching, Kutaha. Where are you? Krishna, where are you, Radharani? Where are you, all the gopis? Where are you at the Yamuna, or are you at the Govardhan hill? So these are the feelings of devotees. So Virahe, in the separation from Krishna, is even more bliss. How can that be? Because you see here, the three worlds become filled with Krishnas. Shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahenam. The whole world becomes empty without you. Actually, what does that mean? Means that person is feeling Krishna so much The absence of Krishna is making him feel Krishna so much that everything else doesn't matter. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam. The entire universe becomes null and void. And that means that much rapturous thought of Krishna, that much rapturous engagement in Krishna's remembrance, that is non-different from associating with Krishna. So this is very powerful. Um, Viraha, what is that? Um, what is the word? Vipralambha. Vipralambha seva. So Vipralambha feeling means service in separation. So that is the most powerful. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught when he was speaking Ramananda Samvad, the conversation with Ramananda Rai. The highest perfection is to serve Krishna in separation. That's why Mother Sita's separation from Ram, although it looks pitiful, but actually there is a transcendental ecstasy, and that is explained by Prabhupada in the Bhakti Rasamrita and the Nectar of Devotion. That if Ramayana was so painful, and there is no shubha in that, there is no auspiciousness or no happiness in that, then Hanuman wouldn't be interested always to read Ramayana all the time repeatedly. So, um, and great devotees won't be enjoying relation such topics. No, so it is actually consistent transcendental ecstasy, even though it may look like painful. No. So anyway, that is Shubha Shubha Parityagi. So mokṣyase ashubhat means to be always engaged in Krishna conscious service. See, just understand this in the context of the battlefield in which Arjuna was there when Krishna was speaking to him. Now, it looks like Ashubha that he has to fight with his own family members. Is this very auspicious? Everybody puts Shubh Labh, right, in the at home door. Shubh Labh, and everywhere, wherever office, Shubh Labh, auspiciousness and gain. So this is what everybody wants. But that home itself, he has to fight. That very family, he has to fight. Yeah. So what is the Shubha there? Yeah. And Krishna is saying, mokṣyase ashubhat. I will, by knowing this, you will be relieved of all ashubha, of all inauspiciousness. So is that going to mean that he doesn't need to fight anymore? No. In fact, he would want to fight after hearing the Bhagavad-gītā. So where is the shubha? Where is the mitigation of ashubha? So the shubha is to act on Krishna's order, which karishya vachanam tava. That is when shubha started for Arjuna. In this Bhagavad-gītā context. Of course, Arjuna is always Krishna's friend and is always in the shubha platform, but he was momentarily put into this delusion by Krishna only to enact this whole thing and show us actually. It is for us. So in the beginning, it was all Ashubha for Arjuna. Because the Ashubha is not really because there were family members in front of him. Because at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, there were still the same family members in front of him. The same thing, looking at the same family members, in the beginning, Arjuna said that this is all, inauspicious. And in first chapter, you can see all his arguments. At the same, after the Bhagavad Gita, the same family members, he's saying Karishya Vachanam Tava. And all his doubts were cleared and he was completely sober. And he has to kill his family members. So what is that? So engagement in Krishna's service. However seemingly inauspicious it may seem. You see, the war is not something which anybody wants to participate in and kill, especially one's own family. But that is considered here auspicious because it is engagement in Krishna's service. If the family, especially in the case of Pandavas and Kauravas, they went against everything. All means of diplomacy did not work. And then only it came to war, finally. So, and because the other side was not following dharma and offending the pure devotees, offending Krishna himself, It has to be done, and people will be has to be given charge to the devotee. Sorry, the devotee has to be given charge of the people. So then the proper ruling will be there. Otherwise, people will not be guided in the proper way. So in that way, Krishna always wanted his devotees to rule. Hmm. So therefore, he wanted this war, and therefore, because Krishna wanted it, it is auspicious. Jñātvā mokṣyase śubhāt. And also, it is not only shubha for the people who on the Pandava side. One second. It is not only auspicious for the people on the Pandava side, but even on the Kaurava side. It is auspicious for everyone because they all died in front of Krishna. Bhishmadev says in the śrī-bhagavān first canto 9th chapter. I think it is there. So it is not that only Pandavas had auspiciousness and the Kauravas they did not get auspiciousness. No, everybody got. I think it is what 37 or what? Oh, this is different. Let's go to index. Please let me know which verse number it is if you find it. You see, 1922 also, Bhishmadev says, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. So Bhishmadev died in the presence of Krishna. So he is considering that Krishna's grace. So it is also Krishna's grace that everybody else also died in front of Krishna. Right? Hmm. So I think it's this verse. Shorten the lifespans. This 1935, I guess. In obedience to the command of his friend Lord Sri Krishna, entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhan. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. So, he, when he kills or when he protects, the person who gets that gets the same liberation. Of course, some demons, devotees get higher liberation, higher status of liberation than the demons, but both at least get liberation. I mean, 1945. Okay, let's go to 1945. Maybe you're right. No, there's nothing like that here. What is 1945? Not 1945. So anyway, so this is mentioned that he, he blessed even the opposite party. Now, going back to this verse again, mokṣyase śubhāt. Now, idaṁ jñānaṁ. Prabhupada classified idaṁ jñānaṁ means the signs of devotional service, which is consisting of the 9 forms of devotional service. Now, if you go to the subject matter of the 9th chapter, see here he in the beginning he says that how the whole universe is pervaded by him, how the whole universe is working under his direction. Huh? That is until 9:10, if I'm not wrong. So fools deride me when I descend in the human form. Uh, They do not know. And 9:12, of course, their hopes, everything is lost. And then Mahatmanastu Mam Partha. So the Mahatmas, they engage in his devotional service, fully engaged. And they always chant 9:14. They always chant his name. And they bow down. And they worship Krishna. And the others who are not such Mahatmas, they do not do these things. Yeah. So and then he is saying that he is the ritual, he is the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. Let's see the healing herb. Aushadham, aham aushadham, swadhaham aham aushadham. See? Aushadham chintayat Vishnu. Ayurveda also it is said. When you take medicine, you have to think of Vishnu. Because only by the will of Vishnu it will work. If Vishnu doesn't want it to work, it will not work. 9:18. Okay, he is a sustainer. He's the most dear friend. As also he's saying, abode the witness, the master, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation and the basis of everything, the resting place in the eternal sea. Very nice verse actually. Sharanam Suhrit. Suhrit, you see. So I give, heat, and I withhold and send forth rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. So those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra where they enjoy godly delights. So this is again the heavenly thing. Then 9:22 he said, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, to them I carry what they like and I preserve what they have. They don't have to, get something by worshipping the demigods. Krishna will take care of everything. So in other words, he's saying this verse that I will do everything for such a devotee, to say that we don't need to go to the demigods to get all these things. There is a context. And he says, I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. This is of course three modes of worship and the transcendental worship. And how to worship Krishna, 9:26-27. In this way you will be freed from bondage of work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. शुभाशुभफलैरेव एवं mokṣyase कर्मबन्धनैः संन्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो माम् उपैष्यसि. So this devotional service is so powerful that even if one is, very sinful, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Because very, very quickly he becomes a dharmatma. Um, pious soul. Was a righteous, yes, dharmatma, follower of religious principles. So even though in the beginning one may have all kinds of abominable habits, but if he takes to devotional service, in the beginning he may still have those things, but it will completely be purified very quickly. And not only that, this is so powerful that even lower sections of society, of whom women, Vaishyas and Shudras are counted in, now although seemingly lower in society, but they also can easily take to this, even a child. So that means Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that even if the practitioner is not as qualified, usually Brahmanas they are supposed to be qualified, but even those who are not qualified can get ultimate, liberation, ultimate success in this devotional service. And finally, he tells this that manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyachi mam namaskuru. Māmevaishyasi satyam te, māmevaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayana. And then actually he explains this not only in the 9th chapter, he gives like a summary here, and then he goes on in 10th chapter even more. And in the 10th chapter we have the Chaturshloki Bhagavad-gītā, which is 10, 8, 9, 10 and 11. That is the Chaturshloki Bhagavad-gītā. Everything is included. Whole Bhagavad-gītā is summarized in those 4 verses. So that is 10th chapter. And then 11th chapter the Virat Rupa. And then 12th chapter is devotional service. So this is the idaṁ jñānaṁ. And all this is mentioned. And in this chapter particularly, the summary is given. again of the different processes and how devotional service is the highest, and why if we take to this, because in 828 he concluded by saying that anybody who takes to devotional service, he already attains all other perfections of vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. So he attains all perfections of every other process. So here he is explaining why that is so. Because a person, first of all, the Supreme Lord is the controller of everything. Every facility that is given to us is done by Krishna. And the Mahatmas, those who do not know him, they are not Mahatmas, they are Duratmas. Mudha, they are called, Avajanantamam Mudha. And they are always ruined in their endeavors, all their endeavors. And the Mahatmas, they take to this with full engagement, full diving fully into it. And those who don't, they are the Mudhas, 915. Right? We've seen what is 915. Oh, sorry, this is not Mudhas. This is about Mudhas is already done before Mahatmas. This is the others who are not Mahatmas, who have taken to other forms of spiritual elevation than bhakti, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and all these things, and worshipping the impersonal Brahman or the Virat Rupa and all these things. They are all lesser. Whereas one who engages in devotional service fully, he is the highest Mahatma. And then he says how that he is the ritual, he is the support of everything. In everything, the active principle is the Supreme Lord. The healing herb, the herb heals, the healing activity, that active principle of that herb is Krishna. The active principle of the ritual is Krishna. He is the sacrifice. He is offering to the ancestors the transcendental chant. Let's see what is that. Mantroham. This is actually a very important point. I am the transcendental chant. So there's no difference between he and his name. Abhinnatvan namanaminoham. So, in this way, he is the goal, he is the sustainer, master witness. So he is basically everything. Everything is running only because of him. Why is he saying all this? Because he said that everything, if one takes devotional service, one has every other thing. So therefore, if one is serving the Supreme Lord, then he doesn't need to do the ritual. Because he says here, I am the ritual, right? Here, I am the ritual. We don't need to do any other, Vedeshu, Yajneshu, all these Yajnas. We don't need to do, because he is the ritual. He is the sacrifice, Yajna. Then he is the offering to the ancestors. So we don't have to do anything separately. That is the point Krishna is making. That's why he is making all these claims. I am the father and the support, the mother, the support, then the grandsire. So how I want to serve my father and mother. No, actually I am father and mother of everybody. So you are not devoid of serving your own father and mother also. Because as Narasimhadev says to Prahlad, 21 generations are going back. Not to speak of your one father and mother. So he is the real father and mother of everybody. So you are not devoid of that service as well. And the purifier, we don't need to take to any other process as purification, for purification. He is the object of knowledge. So we don't need to do any other Vedeshu, like study of the Vedas for achieving some jnana. Just by hearing, chanting about Krishna Katha, every knowledge is already given. And just by engagement in Krishna service, all knowledge one can get. I am also the Rig, Sama and Yajur Vedas. So Vedeshu, Yajneshu, Tapassu Chaiva. So this is why he is saying that devotional service has the result of everything else. Not only that, so he is the creation, maintenance, basis of everything. So this is he is saying. He is the one who withholds and sends forth rain, because one may do Indra Puja, like Nanda Maharaj did Indra Puja, to get rain and to have sufficient rainfall. But Krishna said no, we'll worship Govardhan, not different from me. Indra got angry, but again Krishna proved that he is the source, and Indra came and apologized to him after that. So we don't need to again separately worship Indra. Krishna consciousness is enough. So this is what he is actually saying in this chapter. That's why it is guhyatamaṁ. Whereas in the entire Vedas, you won't find this. You will find, of course it is there, but it is not so easy to find. Vaishnava acharyas can find, other will misinterpret in their own way. So, oh, we have to do this for this yajna for this puja for that, this tapa, this vrata. In this way, there are so many things for different material things. Krishna said, no. And I will give you rain, I will give you everything, and all the whatever other processes and give you, I am that. Krishna is saying, I am the ritual, I am the sacrifice, I am the one who sent forth the rain, I am the witness, I am the goal, I am the Vedas, I am the mantras, I am the object of knowledge purifier, everything I am. I am the healing herb. No other process is needed. And therefore, he says, okay, those who seek the study of Vedas drink the Soma juice and seeking the heavenly planets worship me indirectly. So even that heavenly thing is all indirect. But Krishna is saying, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So, in other words, they don't need to worry about anything else. They just need to worry about how to engage in my service. That's it. So then he says, those who are devotees of other gods, who worship them with faith, actually worship only me, but in a wrong way. So, not only that you get the result of worshipping demigods by worshipping me, but you will get much more. Even that worship is in fact indirect and wrong way. Avidhipurvakam. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. So then he says that, you see, this is the thing. Um, so different worships will take you to different realms. Demigods, forefathers, ghosts, and Krishna's worship. And then he explains a little bit how to worship him, what to offer to him, and how to engage ourselves. What you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that as an offering to me. So some people say, especially Hindus, they say, oh, dharma is not religion, it's a way of life. Arey, what then is religion? Religion is a way of life. Religion means not just you go to the temple and do this and come back. That is not only religion. Religion means your entire way of life. And every other religion, if you take, say for example, Christianity in Bible, there thou shall not kill. You cannot kill. You cannot kill even animals. And thou shall not commit adultery. So you cannot have illicit sex. What is that? That is way of life, right? So religion means a way of life. What do you mean it is not religion but a way of life? What do you mean by that? The way of life ordained by God is religion. That is dharma. That is the duty that one has to perform. What do you mean by it is not religion, just a way of life? So here, Krishna is saying in the 927, here as you can see, whatever you do, so that is way of life. Like we are living. So what way of life? Not in my own way of life, but the way ordained by God. Everybody is having way of life, their own way of life. But the way of life ordained by God is religion. And that is what Krishna is saying in here. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that as a O son of Kunti, as an offering to me, Krishna is saying. So this is bhakti. In this way you'll be freed, and I envy no one. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend to me, and I am also a friend to him. So Krishna, is, is equal to everyone. But different processes, as people take to different processes, they achieve different results because that is their level of surrender. Their adherence to a certain process of elevation is the measure of their faith in Krishna. If they say worship demigod, say Ganesh, they are doing demigod worship in a wrong way. I mean, worshipping Krishna in a wrong way through a demigod, and that is their understanding that okay, he will, my obstacles and material progress must be saved. So that much Krishna will give. So is it the real benefit that Krishna can give? No, he can give more than that. But this person wants that much only. So I envy no one. It's not that I want something less for him and more for this devotee who is worshipping me, and because he's worshipping someone else, then I therefore envious of him, I will give him something less. Not like that. And he's equal to everyone. But that much is what he wants, or that much I will give. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहं यादृशी यादृशी श्रद्धा सिद्धिर्भवति तादृशी. So these injunctions are there. Now this process is so powerful. Then he goes on to explain something else. This process is so powerful that even if one is, sinful, by taking to this process, he is to be considered saintly, and quickly he will become a dharmatma. And not only that, even less qualified people can take to it and comfortably attain highest perfection. That great process I am going to tell you, Arjuna. Idaṁ te guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy anasūyave. Jñānaṁ vijñāna-sahitaṁ jñātvā mokṣyase śubhāt. So this is an overview of the ninth chapter. So that is the meaning of idam jnanam. So that we can have some context on what actually Krishna is speaking about. At a zoom out a little bit the ninth chapter, and then try to a little bit understand what is he even saying. You see? So that will help us understand what is actually going on here. So coming back, 9.1. Now, guhyatamam. Now this word guhyatamam, guhya means secret. Guha means cave. In cave, whatever is there, that is kind of hidden, right? Because you can stash something there and which nobody can see. So there is a secret. So what is there inside, you don't know. So guhya means secret. One something that is not easily visible. It's like in a cave, in a not so easily this thing. So that's why that etymology is there. Guhya means secret, therefore. Guhyam. And rahasyam also means same. So you remember in 4th chapter, 3rd verse, he says, Bhaktosime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. Krishna says, why am I speaking to you, Arjuna? Because you can understand this rahasya, because you are my friend and devotee. Same thing here. Because you are anasūyave. Asūya means envy. Anasūyave means non-envious. So only a devotee is non-envious. Now you may say, no, people are not envious of Krishna. They are just worshipping some demigod or what. That does not mean they are envious of Krishna. No, it means. Or if they are taking to any other process, any other thing than surrender to Krishna and taking to the process, a complete pure bhakti process, is actually a tinge of envy. More or less, it's only a question of degree of, a difference of degree. We are all envious of Krishna, which is why we don't want to worship him. The people who don't want to worship Krishna and surrender to him, the only reason is envy. And this is an envy that is spanning many millions and trillions of lifetimes. It's a very deep-rooted envy. And what does that envy means? How does it look like? Because envy looks like, if I'm not envious of someone, then I will not misrepresent him. See, for example, suppose somebody tells me, how to give a good example. Suppose a king is there. Suppose there is a king and he sends maybe a messenger or a spy or whatever. Now that spy, if he goes there to the other kingdom or something, and instead of working for his king, if he works for the other king, and like, hey, my king, he has this weakness. Maybe I can tell you how to conquer him. You know, um, if you pay me good enough. Or he sends this spy for one mission. He sends the spy for one mission, and then he goes and he misrepresents and tells something else. That means what? He's not having. He's not representing him properly. He's misrepresenting him. He's actually bringing harm to the kingdom. Of course, you cannot harm Krishna, but the intention is that to harm. So that is enviousness. So when Krishna says clearly something, why you have to interpret in their own way? So these people who interpret Bhagavad Gita in their own way, they are misrepresenting Krishna, and that means by inherently they are envious. So anasūyave, because you are not envious, guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy. Of course, I mean, to whom you will reveal your most confidential secrets? To someone who you know that who is not a traitor to you, right? Of course, your fear is, if he reveals these secrets, then it will bring me harm. But for Krishna, he doesn't need to do that because nothing can bring him harm. Then why can't he just be more liberal and spread this to everyone, like share this knowledge with anyone and everyone? The thing is, because he doesn't want to interfere with our independence. He wants to. Otherwise, why does he come to this material world? And why does he send his pure devotees as acharyas to reclaim the fallen souls? There's no need, right? But he comes. But if the people are not ready, and if you tell the glories to a faithless person, and then if the person is more enraged and commit more offenses to Krishna, that is bad. So, how to capture the innocent people and tell them about this knowledge and avoid the envious? Envious, anyway, they will only offend more if they know anything about Krishna. So, better that they stay away. At least don't commit those offenses. So, envious, if they're envious, and especially an atheist, a second class preacher, he has to distinguish and behave accordingly. So, he has to know that, okay, this is the Lord. I have to cultivate my love for him. He's clear who the Lord is. He's clear who the Lord is. He's not confused whether, some Sai Baba is God or some Devata is God. No, he's not confused. He is clear who is God and he is cultivating love for him. And for devotees, he cultivates friendship. And he also understands that the demigods are great devotees. He respects them and has great admiration for them for how good servitors they are of the Lord. But he will never ever make the mistake that they are as good as the Supreme Lord. He doesn't do that. Ishvara Prema. What is that? Tad adhineshu Maitri, friendship with devotees. Balisheshu Kripa, for the innocent, show compassion and preach to them about Krishna consciousness. And Dvishatsu Upeksha. Dvishatsu, they are the ones who are envious. They are the ones who are envious, who are especially demons who are atheists. They are envious. Anasūyave. Here means you are not envious of me, and therefore I am speaking to you. And especially the devotee is completely free of all envy, whereas even the innocent person, if he's not a devotee, he still has envy. But it is not to an extent where he cannot be repaired. So he can be convinced about Krishna. So that much piety at least he has. But because he has not surrendered yet, that vestiges of envy is still there. Because if one is really non-envious, he will surrender fully, without a reservation, without a single reservation. So Arjuna was such a devotee, anasūyave, and therefore Krishna is saying, I am revealing this secret to you. It is not that he does not want to reveal this secret to anyone, because now Bhagavad-gītā is open. Any envious or non-envious person can open this book and read. Nobody is stopping them. It's not locked and, oh, now you're non-envious, okay, Krishna will give you key and then you can open. No, anybody can open the book. But the knowledge will not be open. The knowledge will be locked still. That is the mystery of this Bhagavad-gītā. It is open and yet it is closed for those who are not ready to take it. Pravakṣyāmy anasūyave guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy. So actually he wants to give us this guhyatamaṁ knowledge, Krishna, through Arjuna. Arjuna is just an agent, just like The cow gives us milk through the agency of her calf. So, of course, the calf is nourished, but the others are also nourished. So, similarly, the Bhagavad-gītā is spoken to Arjuna, but it is nourishing us also. So, anasūyave, guhyatamaṁ pravakṣyāmy, jñānaṁ vijñāna-sahitaṁ. This Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam. The most purest of knowledge is given by Krishna to the non-envious devotee. Nirmatsaranam satam. The devotees are nirmatsara. They are not envious. And non-envious means they have no other motive other than to serve Krishna. Not even the motive that I want to go back to Vaikuntha and be with you, Krishna. Not even that. They're not even asking. Pure devotee does not even ask that. So he has nothing to gain from the Lord, only to serve. That is what attracts Krishna more than anything else. Now, here, guhyatamaṁ, yes, I have actually not explained that. Now, guhyam means secret. Guhyataram means more confidential. Guhyatamam means most confidential. Positive, comparative, superlative. 3 degrees. So, guhyatamam is the superlative degree, the most confidential. And Prabhupada explains this. The very beginning of Bhagavad-gītā, first chapter, is more or less an introduction to the rest of the book, laying the context. Now, second and third chapters, the spiritual knowledge is described as confidential. In fact, third chapter and fifth chapter are both termed as karma yoga. But if you see, there is a difference. In the third chapter, karma kanda is explained, whereas in the fifth chapter, complete engagement in Krishna conscious activities is mentioned. Different kind of karma. Because the third and fifth chapter are sandwiching the fourth chapter, which contains transcendental knowledge. And in that chapter, there is this verse, sarvam karmakhilam partha jnane parisamapyate, 433. And that precedes the 434 verse, which is the famous one, Tattvavit pranipātayanam pariprashnena sevaya, and how to get the jñānaṁ. Now, sarvam karmakhilam partha jnanam jnane parisamapyate. So, in other words, all kinds of ritualistic activities ultimately have their end in transcendental knowledge. So, they must lead one to the destination of transcendental knowledge. That is the whole point of all this other karma, because there are many kinds of sacrifices mentioned in the fourth chapter, from 424 all the way to 432, you can say. So, and 432, of course, 432. 433, he says, Shreyan dravyamaya yajna jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So, this is where Krishna says that of all these sacrifices, jnana is highest. Jnana yajna is highest. And that's not ordinary jnana yajna, which is speculative knowledge, but realized knowledge, devotional service. And therefore, tadvidhi pranipātena pariprashnena sevaya. And having said that, then he says, how to achieve that knowledge by going through a spiritual master. And what is the effect of that knowledge? That he sees that Krishna is the super soul of everyone and everything rests in Krishna, and therefore nothing is separate from Krishna. So this knowledge is not simply some speculative knowledge, because speculative knowledge does not lead us to that conclusion. So therefore it is only devotional knowledge. And then he says such knowledge, even if one is most sinner, he will get complete liberation if he takes to that. And it burns to ashes all the karma. And then the shraddhava labhate jnanam. Those who have faith in this process, they will attain the jnana. And those who have no faith, 440, they don't. They have, every endeavor will be a failure. They will not get any tangible result out of this. Now, having said that, then he says in the 441 and 442, which is the last two verses of the fourth chapter, that yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam. What is that? Nibadhanti. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. So, yoga sanyasta karmanam. Again, he is coming to karma. Whereas in the third chapter, he has not discussed knowledge yet. He said, if you want, he said, sahayajna praja srishtva. He said, um, by cooperation between you and the demigods, by the process of sacrifice, the cycle of sacrifice, he evam pravartitam chakram. So this cycle of sacrifice he mentions in the beginning of the third chapter. And then he says, if one has nothing to gain in this world, he still must perform these activities so that others who are materially attached may be encouraged to perform those activities and not give up those activities and go to irreligious life. To keep the population in religious life, the person who has transcended this is in the 317 and 318 verses. He says, those who have transcended this, whole karma kanda, even they have to still be performing those activities in society so as to encourage the rest of them. Otherwise, the rest of them will not have inspiration to follow and they will slip into a religious life. So to keep them religious, like he gave the example of Janak Maharaj, who, was doing all kinds of simile karma kanda, although he was actually a realized soul. He was one of the 12 Mahajans. Now, he was performing apparently some, even Yudhishthir Maharaj performed, Rajasuya sacrifice, which is a karma kanda sacrifice. But his intention was totally different. He wanted to glorify Krishna. So Janak Maharaj also was doing that. But he was doing all these activities, although there was no need for him to do. There's no need for him to do. Because Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapassu Chaiva. So all these things are already included in devotional service. He could have just chanted the name of Ram. But no, he was doing everything. To set example, karmano hi samsiddhim, karmanaiva hi samsiddhim, astita janakadaya, loka sangraham evapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. So just to show the rest. So that it goes all the way to 329. And finally 330, he says, you act for me. And then he says, this is actual religious process. And those who don't understand this, envious of this, they will fall down. The other day I was showing to you, I think 5 or 6 verses I've taken out from Bhagavad-gītā, saying that those who are not faithful in this process, they fall down. 332, 440, 9.3, 9.12, then 16.23 and 18.58. All these 6 verses say the same thing, that if one is unfaithful in this process, in the scriptures, in the process, in Krishna, in the whole Krishna consciousness, they will fall down. They will not see perfection. This is clearly stated. And of course, there are other verses also which state in 16th chapter, he says, Tanaham dvishata kruram samsareshu naradhaman, I will throw them into, the most abominable species of life. There is also the same meaning, but these 6 verses specifically say that. So, having understood that, so of course, then Arjuna asks, so of course, Krishna ends at 335 saying, one should be performing one's own activities, even though full of imperfection, rather than doing others' duties perfectly, just to keep the order in society, or keep the society in order. Either way, to give the society some order. So to maintain order within society, he has to perform that. Just like Kunti Devi, for example. I'll give you an example. Kunti Devi. Now, she is a woman. Now, actually, She is more than any sannyasi, yogi in the Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka planets also. And she is even higher than the devotees in Vaikuntha, because she is the maternal aunt of Krishna. And I mean, there is nothing, more close. I mean, there are of course a little bit closer, but very few devotees are closer than her to Krishna. I mean, she's so elevated, or Mother Yashoda for that matter. But Kunti Devi in the 1:820, she says, Tatha Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidanartham Katham Pashyamahi Striyaha. A woman like me, how can we understand the great knowledge that you describe to the various Paramahamsas? She's putting herself in such a humble position as a less intelligent woman, although she's greater than all those Paramahamsas. But she never changed. Oh, I'm greater than the Paramahamsa, so I have to be more than the Paramahamsa. I should give lecture to Paramahamsas. No, she's saying that's what today ISKCON they're doing. The men, although unqualified, they became gurus. Now the women are saying, "Arey, you are falling down like dominoes. Then why can't we become gurus? You say you are like so advanced, but you are falling like dominoes. Then oh, how are we different from you? We can also be perfect. We can also be as good as you or as bad as you. We will also become gurus. So they also became gurus. Now, so a woman, but Kunti Devi is a perfect example. She is so knowledgeable that she can give classes to Paramahamsas. She can give lectures. She can lecture Paramahamsas. But she is saying Tatha Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katham Pashyamahi Striyaha. And this is not only for Kunti Devi. Every devotee thinks like this. Every real devotee. Rupa Goswami is saying, I am worse than the worm in the stool. What to speak of woman or what? Worm in the stool is better than me. That is the humility of a devotee. And not just humility. Kunti Devi maintained the order of society. Although she is more perfect than all these Paramahamsas, but she maintained herself as a woman and she conducted herself as a woman. Not just say as a woman, conducted herself. She was under the protection of the 5 sons because her husband was not there. And her sons were sent to Vanavas. She was not actually ordered to go to Vanavas or exile into forest. But she also went with them. Why? Because, a woman should be protected by the men. There are so many men in the Kuru. There is Bhishmadev, there is Dronacharya, there is, all these Kripacharya, big, names. They're there to protect me. I will stay here. You all go to the forest. No, no, no. My sons. Because by father in her childhood, by husband in her youth, and by a grown-up sons in her advanced age is the status of a woman. There is no brahmacharya, there is no sannyas, there is no vanaprastha for woman. So she maintained that. She maintained that. Although it was not necessary for her. Krishna, you see, let's take the example of Draupadi. She had five of the strongest men as her husbands. Five of them. Usually, a husband protects a wife. Here, 5 husbands to protect her. But still, when she was being disrobed, none of the 5, not even Bhima, could do anything. Who saved? Krishna saved. So Kunti Devi, why should she be under the protection of the Pandavas when she is already an aunt of Krishna and she has a very close relationship with Krishna? Krishna will always protect her. So why should she be under the protection of the 5 sons? Again, not breaking the order. To show by example to the other women how to conduct herself. Mother Sita, who is she? She is Lakshmi herself. All wealth belongs to her. Nowadays, if you give a woman a little bit wealth, they earn some money and then they think they're independent. I don't need no man. I don't need a man. Here, how we have Mother Sita, who is Lakshmi herself, who is the owner of all money, goddess of fortune, and she's not saying, "Oh, I have all the money. I don't need Ram." She did not say that. How pativrata she was. This is setting example. They are not bound by that, but they do that. Of course, her devotion to Ram, and that is inseparable. A devotee will never give up Ram. But apart from that spiritual relationship, they're also teaching us how a husband and wife should live, how a woman and man should live, everything. So multiple lessons can be gleaned from such incarnations and such examples of acharyas. So this is why yadyat acharati shreshthas tatta devetaro janaha. You see, whatever the great people do, the common men follow. So therefore, setting of examples has to be there. So in this way, Krishna ended the third chapter at 335. At 336, so if you see three in the third chapter, the whole point is do these karmakanda activities because this will give you great, all supplies of material happiness by the cooperation with the demigods. And even if you have crossed this path, please keep doing that so as to keep the rest of the society in order. That was the point in third chapter. Although it was talking about karma yoga, but it was about this kind of karma yoga. Then Arjuna asked about lust. What actually keeps us um, bound to this material world? And you know, one is careful about doing all these activities. But then why does, even if he wants to elevate himself, but he is forced to commit an activity which is being sinful, because that was the case of Arjuna. Because he's saying that okay, you do these activities, you go to heavenly planets, or you get elevated and all these things. But Arjuna is saying, you see, I want to do my duty as Kshatriya, but now I'm forced in a position where I have to do this sin of killing my family members in the course of my duty. So what is it? Then of course Krishna answers that lust is the real cause of sin. So as long as Arjuna acts with lust, with the aim of sense gratification, that is going to be sinful. But when he acts on the principle of love, which is to service to Krishna, that activity is untinged by sin. Untinged. So, why is one forced to commit sinful activities even though he does not want to? Like Arjuna did not want to commit sinful activities, but he's forced in a situation now he's facing these, his enemies who are his family members. What is this? This is a paradox. So Krishna answered, the real enemy is lust. So as long as we act in lust, it will be um, sin only. And therefore, how to come out of this lust? That also he explains in the um, third chapter itself. Um, what is that? Vijñāna-sahitaṁ. So, no, he says like this, that lust destroys your jnana and vijñāna, your knowledge and everything. So, how to counter lust? Why is lust there? What is lust? Atmendriya priti vancha tare boli kam. Kam or lust means the desire to gratify my own senses. So that desire comes when I don't understand or I don't remember my original relationship with God. Then I want to satisfy my senses. But if I really understand that I am a servant, part and parcel of Krishna, then I want to serve Krishna. I will want his happiness. And that way my happiness is also there. Let's just like the finger, when it gives food to the stomach, the finger is also energized. So, Atman, this karma comes with a lack of knowledge. And therefore the fourth chapter starts there. The whole transcendental knowledge. Of course, he explains first, you know, why Krishna comes. Krishna says, first of all, I spoke this in the transcendental knowledge of sun god. Then Arjuna asks, wait a minute, how is that possible? Then Krishna says, yes, not in this life, but in a much previous life. And you were also there. Both in you and I have taken births many times, but you don't remember. I remember everything. And then why do I come every time? Yada yada dharmasya, to re-establish religious principles all the time. So anyone who knows my birth and activities, janma karma chame divyam, they actually, they also become free from all birth and birth and death in the material world and go back to spiritual world. That means that your birth and my birth are not equal, because just by learning about my birth, your birth will be finished. You will go back to God. So how purifying is my birth? So it is not as same as your birth. So we are different. And then he says, many people have come to me, knowing about me, knowing Knowing Krishna means to know about ourselves also, our relationship with Krishna. If you know that Krishna is great, then I will automatically understand that I am not great, I am subordinate to him, I must serve him. So that is included in that. When you know Krishna, everything is there. So he says, many people in the past have already come to me like that. 410, 411. Now, how much ever you take to this, yeah, that much perfection you will have. And those who only want until demigod perfection, they worship demigod, that much they will get. And those who want to follow the varnashram system, that much they will get. But I, although I am creator of all this system, I am not within the system. And anyone who knows me also comes out of the system, comes out of Maya, basically. And therefore, in 415, he says, do as the previous acharyas did, follow in the same way. And then he says, how to follow? What is the activity that you have to follow? What is work? What is karma? What is that? Karmano hepe bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. Says there are three. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha yat tat pravakṣyāmy. What is that? Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha तत्ते कर्म pravakṣyāmy jñātvā mokṣyase śubhāt. So again, what is the work? What is sinful work? What is pious work? What is transcendental work? Akarma. All this I will tell you, knowing which you will come out of this. So this is knowledge he is giving now. And then how one should yajñāyacharatah karma, and how one, of course, 4, 19, 20, 21, 22. It is said that one should only work for one's maintenance, and then beyond that he has to work for spiritual realization. And yajñāyacharatah karma, he has to work for the purpose of yajna, for the purpose of sacrifice, for Vishnu, that means for Krishna. And then different types of sacrifices, which are mishra sacrifices, mixed sacrifice, not pure devotional service. There is demigod worship, there is impersonal worship, there is yoga, this Ashtanga yoga system, and jnana yajna, reading of scriptures and understanding jnana. And then finally he concludes that in 433, that's karma, sarva karmakhila partha jnane parisamapyate. So all activities, all these sacrifices and all these things has to end in transcendental knowledge. And when he explains the transcendental knowledge, where to go to spiritual master and all of that, finally he says yoga sannyasta karmanam. So you have to give up karma, material activities, but yoga sannyasta karmanam, you have to perform yoga, your activities in devotional service. Jnana sanchinna samshayam. And then atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. Tasmat, what is that? 442. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam hritstham jnanashanatmanah. Whatever ignorance was there in the heart, we have to chitvainam, we have to cut it out with the sword of transcendental knowledge, jnanashanatmanah. Samshayam yogam, chitvainam samshayam, all these doubts must be cut to pieces. Yogam, we have to be in yoga. We have to be yogam atishtha. Yogam atishtha. We have to situate in yoga. That means devotional service. Uttishta bharata. Atishtha uttishta bharata. So get up and fight. Now act. Now this activity is different from ordinary karmic activity. It may resemble an ordinary fighter, kshatriya doing his karma kandiya duty. No. This is transcendental because it is added with knowledge. 4th chapter. And now this yoga sannyasta karmanam, he starts in 5th chapter. Because Arjuna asks, Arjuna was sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogam cha samsase yachreya eteyor ekam tanma bhujanasya. Oh Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce work and get knowledge. And then again you recommend work through devotion. You're asking me to renounce or work now. Now, will you kindly tell me which of the two is more beneficial? So to clarify even more, the 5th chapter is Karma Yoga, which is now devotional service. If you see Karma Yoga of 5th chapter, way different from 3rd chapter Karma Yoga. So that is the difference. And then, so it is becoming more confidential, as you see. And the 6th chapter about Hatha Yoga, and finally Arjuna says, "Come on, this is all impractical for me. I will just give me something else." Then he says, "Yes, you become devotee." And of course, he asks, "What happens to the unsuccessful yogi?" He will attain again perfection after going to the heavenly planets, coming back, and a few lifetimes or many lifetimes, he will ultimately achieve perfection for sure. But then he says, tapasvibhyodhiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodhikah karmabhischadhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So rise above jnana, karma, yoga, everything, become bhakta. Become yogi. And what is that yogi? Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratma shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tammo mataha. Tama. Again, tama means superlative degree, the best of all yogis. Of all yogis, best is my devotee. So that has become now more confidential. And then starts 7th chapter, 8th chapter. So devotional service means why I should serve Krishna, what is the position of Krishna, and what is our position. That is where 7th chapter starts. There is the material energy, there is a Jiva Bhuta, who is, superior to the material energy, but who is my part and parcel. And then how the different Adibhutam, Adidaivam, Adiyajnam, Karma, and Brahma, Adhyatmam, all these things are mentioned. And finally summarized in 7th chapter. And 8th chapter, Arjuna asks, what is this Adhyatma, what is Brahma, what is Karma, what is Adibhutam, Adidaivam, Adiyajnam, what is all these things? Then he explains again in the 8th chapter. And finally he says, I am actually everything, and therefore once you come to devotional service of me, everything is done automatically. And then starts now 9th chapter. And here we can see again an overview of why bhakti is the highest and why it contains all the other results that is explained in this 9th chapter, confidential knowledge. So in this way one can get everything of the karma kandya process and much more just with bhakti. And we don't have to worry. Yogakshema vahamyaham. I will take care. Whatever is lacking, I will carry. Whatever is there, I will preserve. So one's advancement is not hampered in any way by taking to devotional service. And not only that, even the most unqualified people of the society can take to it with and attain complete perfection. And even the most sinner will become quickly a dharmatma. And therefore, manmana bhava madbhakto. So this is how Krishna has arranged this whole Bhagavad-gītā. If you see Bhagavad-gītā in order like that, Krishna is taking Arjuna through a series of purification and he is revealing higher and higher knowledge. So that's why it's the most confidential knowledge. And of course, it becomes confidential more until 12th chapter. It becomes very confidential, the most confidential, and which is devotional service, pure devotional service. And then again, he goes back and explains other things, other aspects like the soul and the super soul and in 3 modes of nature, in order to further strengthen their understanding. And Purushottam Yoga, what is the Supreme Lord, everything about him. And then there is divine and demoniac, those who follow and those who don't follow. What are their qualities? How can we distinguish? And what are the destinations? And then there is 16 chapters. Then 17 chapters again, like the faith in 3 modes. What are the different types of activities that people take in different modes? And then finally, he ties everything together in the 18th chapter, brings them back to surrender, which is the ultimate instruction of the 18th chapter. And Arjuna says, Karishye vachanam tava. Yes, sir. That was the end of Bhagavad-gītā. So, this is how Bhagavad-gītā is laid out. The whole point is to convince with every logic, every argument, every angle to convince Arjuna. But the point here is this one thing I want to say before we end. The thing is, there is a fundamental difference between the way modern science approaches anything and the way our science, our Vedic science, our deductive process, Avaroha Pantha approaches knowing anything, knowledge. Two ways of approaching knowledge. Now, one is ascending, one is descending, right? Ascending is with your senses, you try to gain more and more and more, and ultimately, eventually, hopefully, wanting to get a complete understanding of everything, which one can never get with that process, given all our defects. Now, the other perfect process is descending process, in which the knowledge is straight away revealed by the actual source of all knowledge, and we have it given in our platter. Now, modern science starts with denial of anything. Unless you show me proof, I will deny it. At least that is a puritanical process, but of course, there are other factors that come into play, which is politics, and which further pollute that whole scientific process. Now we have that is where cheating propensity comes in. So for politics, just like for example, Cold War, there was a Cold War between US and Russia, still kind of going on. It's kind of a little bit hotter than before. There is some war going on in Ukraine. There is actually a war between Russia and the US. If one knows how this is all playing out and what are the factors, what are the forces that are playing behind the scenes, behind the obvious, we can see that actually it's a war between Russia and US. Now, the Cold War, when the Cold War was going on, the Cold War means it was not an actual war on the battlefield, but it was trying to assert one's supremacy by other means, like scientific advancement, by literary progress, by technological advancement, by economical advancement, in that way. So, in the technological race, there was this particular subsection of that, which was the space race. Who would conquer more of space? And Yuri Gagarin was so-called the first man in space by Russia in a spacecraft. Of course, we have the original spaceman who is Narad Muni, who is going everywhere, but these people do not know him. So, demoniac population of Kali Yuga. So, according to their calculation, Yuri Gagarin. Now, US wanted to, oh, you are space, I will go to the moon. So now, when you force some outcome, and well, if it is way beyond your limits, if you can't make it, you fake it. So that was the policy. So then cheating propensity comes in, because political agenda has to play out, because we have to show we are superior. US, that's the US this thing. So somehow or other show superiority. Just make people believe that we are superior. Whether we are superior or not, that's another thing. Just make people believe. So perception is what matters after all. What people think is what matters according to them. So then we will have the power. We can wield control. And by movies, Hollywood movies, more, they achieved more, um, how to say, inroads into many countries, because in the form of movies, they watch some movies and it's an American movie, and everybody is given this soft, uh, um, it's okay. It's actually colonization, like before, like those days. The colonization happened where British, Portuguese, or French, they all colonized so many, countries and places in different parts of the world. The same thing is happening, but in a softer way, in a subtler way. They're colonizing our minds by everything, propaganda about the US, or propaganda about this, propaganda about that. So this is the propaganda that's still going on. It's just going on in different names, in different format. The format has changed. The mission has not changed. Adaptation happened. That's it. So that propaganda of Western propaganda of hedonism, basically sense gratification, that is going on. Yeah. So if you see, all these things are playing out, and we don't know. Sometimes we cannot understand all these things. And why should we understand all these things? How does it matter? It doesn't matter in the ultimate issue. But we cannot be fooled by these things. So, because in these matters come a defiance towards God. For example, now this moon landing. Now, for the sake of some scoring some political points, they made a claim that is contradicting Shastra. So what happens there is not only did they score some political points, but also people now get convinced that we can go to the moon in a spacecraft. And when Bhagavad-gītā says, among the stars and the moon, and Bhagavatam says in different, so the planets are differently ordered compared to modern science. So then people will have lesser of a faith in the scriptures. So it is also subverting the authority of the scriptures. It is, creating doubts. And in that way, in the ascending way, it starts with denial. If you take it puritanical, I mean, of course, if you introduce cheating, then they make people believe by introducing narratives, which was always been going on. That's also another thing. Now, if you take science puritanically, let's say there are no political forces acting, just a pure scientist who is just wanting to know things. The way he approaches knowing things is by denial first. I will deny it until it is found to be true. At least if I perceive it to be true, then I will accept it. If it cannot be proven, then I will not accept it. And probably that's the right way to go about, because because that means we are not trusting the source. We are trying to get some, okay, this is saying like that, and cross check with this and cross check with that, and if all meet at the same point, okay, this fact is true. So looking at it from all angles, and so if the sources in this material world are not trusted inherently, and therefore they want to check with the other things, and okay, it's all coinciding, okay, then now we will accept. So like that. So it starts with a lack of trust, and rightly so. I mean, because here, how you can get imperfect beings as we are, how can we trust any of our source? If we are the source, how can we be trusted? No. But in spiritual world, in the according to Shastras, when Krishna gives the knowledge, it starts with trust in the source. Whereas in matter, it starts with distrust. Two different ways of approaching. And here we trust not somebody, some weird person, but the perfect authority. So our whole thing is to understand first, or establish first, whether the source from which I am hearing is an authorized source or not. If it's authorized, whatever the source says, I will accept. That is our process. Whereas in the scientific, in the so-called inductive process, the process is, I will not trust any source, however promising. I will check everything on the merit of its, argument or whatever presented. The inherent problem with that approach is that we do not know. We are incapable of verifying. And if it's a material source, and if I'm incapable of verifying, I should not believe it. That is right. But suppose if somebody says, hey, let's say Einstein died. No, I don't believe it. How do you know? Well, I heard. Who told you? Somebody told me. Arey. And if I can't go to Germany or see whether Einstein actually died, or where was he? Germany, I think. So whether he died or not, I cannot check. And if I do not have the means to go there and check, I mean, who would go there just to check whether he's dead or dead? Okay, come back. So I mean, I'm not going to waste thousands of dollars going there, and in those days it was not easy. So I cannot verify. I cannot trust the source. I will not believe until there is some real concrete evidence. If everybody is saying, if many news channels are saying, maybe I'll believe that, because everybody is pointing at the same thing. So that's it. Can you see all these news channels? There is a possibility that all these news channels can make a nexus out of themselves, partner with each other, and say that, hey, let's say the same lie tomorrow morning that Einstein died, and let's see what the people say. And everybody hears the same news. Oh, Einstein died, Einstein died, Einstein died. So there is a possibility to lie. We just hope that that's not how it works. Everybody has their own independent organizations, and everybody is objectively looking at it from different angles, from different people are, you know, but there is a possibility where everybody can cooperate and collaborate and present something, a narrative which looks the same across the board, which is a complete lie. And that's what happened with moon landing. And because we trusted sources or news sources so much, it was easy to, you know, hoodwink the public that, oh, man landed on the moon. So Prabhupada immediately, of course, denied the whole thing. They never landed on the moon. Finish. So, and then, of course, proof was there, and also our Shastras say. So now, if that trust we have in Krishna, then we, you know, we will accept whatever Krishna says. And that is what Arjuna did. Guhyatamaṁ, anasūyave. Anasūyave means he is not envious. In other words, that means he will not doubt Krishna. He's perfect, and Krishna is showing. He showed his Virat Rupa. I mean, everything, whole universe is under him, in his control. So, of course, he knows everything what is going on. Whatever he's saying, I must accept. So, this is the way one has to receive. Of course, when I say distrust, there is an inherent trust in our own intellectual capacities and our own senses. We have distrust in the so-called sources, but we have immense trust in our own, the scientists especially. They have immense trust in their own senses and intellectual capabilities, and they try to challenge. They deny even God. Oh, you show me God, I will believe you. You cannot show me, okay, I'll deny. So it starts with distrust. That is envy. Actually, if any common man can see that, Prabhupada said, even a flower can remind one of God. If a painting of a flower, you will see that, oh, so nicely painted. Who is the artist? No, why don't you ask the same question when you see a real flower? When it is much more than just paint. It has its own fragrance, texture, everything, and you can take out honey from that, whatever. So all these things, why don't you ask who's the artist in this? But no. So that is envy, anasūyave. Whereas deductive process is based on non-enviousness. I will accept Krishna whatever you say. That is non-envious. So whatever he says, we accept. Immediate perfection is there. Immediate perfection is there. So Vishuddhavadi Sambandhi. Yeah. Puritanical. So in this way, one has to understand what this whole thing is. So I think I will stop it there. Any questions or comments on this topic? So many comments. What are there? So less people and so many comments. Is Jai Shri Ram coming with Sanskrit words? Bhavan Yudakam Dharayasi. Somebody is commenting some swear words. He said, I must drink Sadhguru's urine to know spirituality. Well, let him go and drink the urine of this Asadguru. I'm rascal, Anyway, once you make that video, smash him to bits. Never mind. So, okay, so many comments are this idiot. Okay, never mind. See, I mean, by his language itself, he is showing. Anyway. Somebody is saying, talk about marriage. I'm sorry, that's not the subject of today's verse. Moon night. Prabhuji, everything you say is correct. No, you should not trust me. You should trust what Krishna says. That is always why the screen is here. The screen has to be there. Because the screen means that is the Shastra. And that Shastra is showing. So I am just a mouthpiece only here. My words you should not believe. Believe Shastra. Hmm. Hmm. Vrajeshwari Mataji. Prabhuji, Krishna says here that he will impart jnana and vijñāna. Vijñāna is self-realization. Jnana can be imparted by Krishna or a spiritual guru, but how vijñānaṁ? By acting on the jnana. Like Krishna says in the 9:14, Satatam Kirtayantu Mam. So by engaging in devotional service, one will get vijñāna, vijñāna-sahitaṁ, realized knowledge. So the process to get that realized knowledge, so jnana is there, and how I can engage myself in Krishna's service to realize that knowledge, that is vijñāna. So that process Krishna is given. Prasad Sutar, Hare Krishna. So now, are the scientists go to moon? No, they did not. So that's the lie. That's one of the many, many lies we've been told. One of the biggest lies in the 20th century, at least in the scientific world. So they did not go to the moon. So this is one of them hoodwinked. That's the whole point I was trying to make. So the position of the moon is not even properly understood by modern scientists. This is also another thing. So anyway, um, that's the thing. We actually, covered this topic in other sessions somewhere. So I will not dive deep into that. But in short, yeah, we did not land on the moon. If we landed on the moon in 1969 with that kind of technology, in 2023, we should have been having school excursions to the moon. More than 50 years later, nothing more has been done. So, and there are so many anomalies if you look at the videos, photographs, and so many things. So too many anomalies. So, somebody is saying Einstein died in US. Okay. Ela Tiwari, how did you come in Krishna consciousness? Please share your story. Well, today is not the right time. I think I did. I did share my story somewhere. So in other session, I shared my whole story. Maybe it can be cut up and be shared. Because and see, questions, you have to ask questions that will enhance the understanding of the subject of the verse under discussion. It cannot be just like a free for all something. Let's talk about this now. Let's talk about that. Now, let's talk about something else. Okay, let's chit chat for a while about that subject. No, it's not like that. About the topic at hand. That's the proper way to question. So today is not the time for that. Rubu Majumdar, what does Krishna say about bhakti contrast to prema? What do you mean? Prema. Hmm? That is the highest development of bhakti. That's all. So jnana is not so useful without vijñāna. So, full, because that is that I am soul, I am not the body. So that jnana will, you know, and coupled with our experience, and coupled with our, of course, uh, devotional service, that will transform into vijnana when one can actually see himself. Not that it is not useful. It's useful, of course. Why does Krishna? Now, theoretically, we understand. Hmm? In our conceptually, we understand. But now, with service, that will be realized. One can actually feel it. One can actually live it. So we know that holy name is non-different from Krishna. we know as jnana. But to realize that, and as Rupa Goswami said, how I want millions of tongues and millions of ears to listen to the holy name. Why he is saying that? That means he has realized that Krishna and his name are non-different. I am actually with Krishna when I am chanting his name. But we have not realized, and therefore after 16 rounds we hang up the beads. So there is jnana. One thing is to understand that there is such a stage and take to the process with faith, and not that, oh, I am not feeling that, you know, so it's not true. No. To accept that stage as axiomatically true and following the process given by the acharyas, by the spiritual master, and eventually progressively realizing more and more aspects of that jnana in our personal life. So that is vijñāna. So jnanam vijñāna-sahitaṁ means the knowledge, and of course the process for realizing it. And sometimes it is also stated as jnanam vijñānam as knowledge both numinous and phenomenal. Phenomenal means is material knowledge, and numinous means is spiritual knowledge. So that's another way of translating it. But yeah, so this is the understanding. Why did Jesus or Muhammad did not adopt the same method as Prabhupada? Prabhupada also elevated the most fallen hippies, so they could also have done the same. Yes, but that was the mission given to them, just like Buddha. That's why under Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is actually possible Kali Yuga avatar. Why is Kali Yuga avatar? Because although the Lord comes as Buddha, um, as of course later Kalki, he will just kill all of them, and then he sends acharyas in different parts of the world. Unless the merciful Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvashe Namaha, unless Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes under the auspices of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kali Yuga population can be delivered. You see, if it is um, always, you know, that, see, there are four yugas, right? It is not always that times are bad. I mean, people are much more orderly in the previous yugas. Now, at that time, gradual elevationary processes were recommended, and devotional service was there, but other things were also there. Now we are now having to deal with the society. You see, okay, in say for example, Treta or Dwapar Yuga, there were devotees who are pure devotees, and there are others who are engaged in karmakanda activities. A large section of population was actually following some Vedic principles under the Vedic rule and Vedic civilization, and therefore it was a much more conducive atmosphere. At least, even though indirectly, they are accepting the supremacy of Vishnu and following the varnashram system and all of that. That is a much more conducive society. The entire society is properly laid out, and the pure devotees, of course, have their access to pure devotional service. Now, in Kali Yuga, such processes are very difficult to reintroduce. The Varnashram system is almost lost. Of course, it is a desire of Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to revive Varnashram, but in its full originality, it cannot be revived. And it can only be revived with Vaishnava principles, and eventually that will percolate into society, and eventually the society will be purified, and the original Varnashram system can be established. Very difficult though in Kali Yuga, because now 99.9% of the people are completely in adharma. Very few people are in dharma, even though karma kanda somewhere. Even though karma kanda they're following many rules, they don't follow. Most of the rules they don't follow. They just go to the temple and do some puja and then some festival and something like that. That's it. There's no actual following in their way of life. So, under the auspices, even Buddha, incarnation of Krishna, one of the Dashavatar, he did not preach pure love of God. He could have. But that is the difference. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Namo Mahavadanyaya Avatar, most munificent. And under his auspices, his descendants, his parampara, sampradaya, they can give this. Very confidential. It's not very easily dished out. Jai Sri Ram is writing in Sanskrit. You write in English, then I will read. Understand? I have to really like lean forward. Okay, let's see. What is this? Ein, Einsta, in, Insya, Inasya, Mrityuha, I, Einsteinasya, oh, Mrityu, oh, Einstein's death. Asian, okay, just, yeah, it happened in the US. See, this, please don't do this. Irritating. I'm not going to entertain any of your comments if you do this. Just write properly. I'm not a Sanskrit educated person. I can read Sanskrit. I have to really, first of all, answer is in English. What are you even writing? So anyway, you know, don't show off your Sanskrit here. Please, maybe you're a scholar. I'm not, but I can understand Sanskrit from Prabhupada's books. That much I have learned. Okay, so Divya Krishna Mataji. Bro, in the king and messenger example explained by you, if the messenger is envious thinking to harm king, he misinterprets the message. Similarly, those who are envious of Krishna, this message is guhya. Yes. They cannot actually understand and they cannot, because their intention is to misrepresent Krishna. Whether it's for themselves or for others, they misrepresent. Krishna spoke in very elementary Sanskrit and very elementary this thing, and the translation is very straightforward, but still people want to do something out of it. They want to bring out something else out of it. So that is enviousness. But there are some devotees who out of lack of knowledge or due to exaggeration, if they misinterpret this confidential knowledge, this is also called as envious. Uh, you mean to say, no? So if I have lack of knowledge, then I have to admit that I don't know about it. But to talk about something which I don't know of, that is cheating. And that is a quality of enviousness. So if I do not know, then I have to admit I do not know. What I know, I should. And how do I know? By reading. But if I have not read something and I don't know because of that, then I should not give something which is not correct. I should admit I don't know. Or if I have a wrong understanding of what I read, then I may speak it and then somebody may correct it and I have to accept that correction if it is valid, if it is proven to be valid. So that's the way to go about it. Exaggeration, I don't know what that means exactly. Priyanshu Verma. Only 17 people watching. Sadhguru video, millions of people watching. Okay. That proves I'm right. Krishna says, 7th chapter, third verse. मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चित् यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन् व्यक्तिमां तत्त्वतः. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. One in a million, one in many millions will actually come to the proper conclusion about knowledge of God. Rascals who follow people like so-called Sadguru, who's Asadguru, they will not. Arey, I have seen the clip. He's saying on video that I know more than God. If God comes and tells me, I will not listen to him because I know more than him. This is Sadhguru's own words. I will make a video and you will see. Okay? A rascal comes and speaks like that. Am I going to accept it? No, I'm going to kick him on his face. That's what I'm going to do. Understand? And since you're saying we have 17 and he has millions, that shows, according to this verse of Bhagavad-gītā, I am right. Another verse also I'll show you because you don't understand, right? Another verse. Śrīmad-bhagavatam. What is that? 17, 28. Oh, not this. 6:14:5. Sorry. Muktānāma siddhānām Narayana Parayanaha Sudurlabha Prashantatma Kotishvapi Mahamune. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated. We're not talking about this useless Sadguru followers who are millions of idiots. We're talking about among millions of people who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation. One may be a devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Yeah. So, in the Vaikuntha, everybody is an enlightened soul. Material world is a place of rascals and idiots. We are also came from there only. Now we are trying to mend our ways. But vast majority, Krishna termed them as mudha. Krishna termed them, not me. So we are all rascals here. And when father calls his son rascal, that is not to be taken as an insult. That is taken as a blessing. So that the father is pointing out, you are a rascal, you want to change. You have to change. So that is the whole point of calling rascal, not to just demean people and condescend them. No. So we have also been rascals. Now we are mending our ways. Now, for those rascals who are following, believing Sadguru and really, getting away with, he's getting away with all the nonsense. We're not talking about those millions. Millions of liberated people who are perfected in knowledge and liberation. Among them, only one may be a devotee of Narayana. Now you see how rare it is. So, thank you for pointing out that we are actually correct. Thank you for enlightening on Ashubha, Anasūyave, Jnana, vijñāna. Sridhar Naidu. If devotional service is transcendental, what is work in the mode of goodness? Do all work which is not criminal or law breaking qualify as work in the mode of goodness? Not necessarily. Law breaking, which law? Which constitution? Some man-made constitution of an imperfect man-made constitution of a country? No. Because according to constitution, eating meat is not a crime. But according to Krishna, it is. It is not sattvic, it is in the mode of ignorance, it is sinful, it is punishable. So how to understand what is the work in the mode of goodness? So that's why you read the 14th chapter and the 17th chapter, you will find what is, suppose, let's take a simple example. This is one of the many aspects that Krishna already explained, but let me just show you something. Tapasya. You see, even the food each person prefers is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity, and now here of the distinctions between them. So, this is how he explains food in the mode of goodness, food in the mode of passion, food in the mode of ignorance, and sacrifice in the mode of goodness, sacrifice in the mode of passion, sacrifice in the mode of ignorance. 17, 11, 12, 13. 8, 9, 10 is food, so 11, 12, 13 is sacrifice. 14, 15, 16. Austerities of the, of course, these are not three modes exactly. Austerities of the body, mind, and words. Then, threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by man, not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the supreme, is called austerity in goodness. Penance performed out of pride. This is again passion, ignorance, goodness. So charity. Okay, charity. 20, 21, 22. Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at a proper time and place to a worthy person is considered to be the mode of goodness. Charity performed with the expectation of some return or with desire for fruitive results or in a grudging mood is to be charity in the mode of passion. Charity performed at an impure place at an improper time to unworthy persons or without proper attention and respect is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So this is all work in the mode in the three modes. So different examples are given here. You go and read the 17th chapter and also you read the 14th chapter and the 17th chapter to understand the three modes and people's activities in the three modes. You will get a good understanding of it. Finally, in the 17th chapter, he says, Ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asadityuchyate partha nachatat pretya no iha. Anything done as sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pritha, is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and the next. Now, work in transcendental goodness, devotional service, is not to be engaged in material activities even. Only spiritual activity, only devotional service of Krishna. Charity to poor people, charity to some medical research, which goes to companies like Pfizer, which are um, lobbying with the government and scamming people with so-called vaccines and things like that. So those are mode of ignorance. Mode of goodness is to do something like digging wells, planting of trees, providing for proper education, not just materialistic education. You see, people build schools sometimes in Africa or somewhere, but in that school, what is being taught? Now they are thinking they're doing good by constructing a school and arranging for teachers and all those things. But what is being taught in the school? Some materialistic education, which okay, for some part of it is required, like reading and arithmetic and all these things, general knowledge and general knowledge of history we have to have, and geography. That is something we should have. But then there's no God consciousness. Everything is learned without relation to God. And you're making a person from the foundations of his life an atheist. So that is not acceptable. So that is not proper charity. That is actually putting people into ignorance. So it is actually kind of ignorant or in the state of passion to an extent. So, and something which is given to the Brahmanas, even if they are karmakanda, that is goodness. But to give to Krishna is transcendental. To give to devotional service to for the preaching mission, for the pure, you know, devotional service, propagation of Krishna consciousness, that is transcendental. So in this way, anything done for Krishna and his devotees, that is transcendental. Anything done for mundane worldly causes, depending on what cause it is, whether it is sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, according to what is the Vedas actually delineate even more extent of what is sattvic, what is some gist of it is given in this 14th and 17th chapter only. More examples are there. So as we become more and more knowledgeable, then we will understand what is actually sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, and what is transcendental. Instead of building a school, you build a temple where actual, not any temple. If you build some temple where no preaching is going on, just some ringing bells and rituals and like that, that is in the mode of goodness maybe. Maybe even passion, because nothing connected to real knowledge. I mean, it's just like some decorative symbol on the street. That kind of temples are not no use. Real temple means that where there is knowledge being spread about Krishna consciousness. That is real education. One must invest in for the future generations. So that is what we're talking about. Hmm? So, ocean of Pritha is so this is the thing. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and so something which is not faith in Krishna, that is the thing. That is asat. Please make soon this video about Sadhguru. I think it will take a minimum of 2 months, at least more. At least by the timelines that I have, by the commitments that I have, at least 2 months. So please bear with it. But I'll definitely come out with it. Hopefully before that, but please bear with me. So it will come out. For sure, it will come out. Reply to Priyanshu, you are right because this is guhyatamaṁ knowledge, not entertainment. Yeah. Sadhguru is giving entertainment. Many people will want. Guhyatamaṁ knowledge, most confidential knowledge means when few people only will know. No? Not many people will know. Rubu Majumdar. Prabhuji, are there any differences between the philosophy of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta and Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva preached by Lord Chaitanya in an essential manner? No, cannot be. So it is just termed differently, but it's same principle. Exactly same principle. Qualitative oneness, quantitative difference, and not only qualitative and quantitative, but oneness and difference. Um, how to say? We are one with God at the same time. We are not God. Like Prabhupada explained, the car is Ford, but Ford is not the car. So everything is Krishna's, but Krishna is not everything. So oneness and difference at the same time, like fire. Ekadesha sthitasya agner jyotsna vistarani yatha parasya brahmana shaktis tatedam akhilam jagat. Vishnu Puran. That there is fire. From the fire there is heat, there is light, there is smoke. All of them are coming from fire. But fire is not heat. Fire is not light. Fire is not smoke. But heat, light, and smoke do not exist, have no separate existence from fire. So there has to be fire. Now, fire has a form. That's not just light, it has a form. So, light is emanating from it. The flame, that is fire. The flames have form. So, light has no form. It's just a issuance of light. And then there is heat, there is smoke. So, they are one with fire, at the same time, they are not fire. So, this is the oneness and difference. That is the same in all Vaishnava Sampradayas. Meet Thakwani. By chanting Hare Krishna, one attains salvation, but what about Jain people practicing Digambar? Please, Prabhuji, please enlighten me. So, in Jainism, it is impersonalism. It is impersonalism. So, they're into impersonal, voidist, basically like voidist, like Buddhist, void philosophy. What is the conception of God in Jainism? Who is God? Tirthankar is treated like an enlightened soul, but not God. So, what is their understanding of God? What is the conception of God? It's not clear. So, they don't achieve the same end as devotees. They're more impersonal. Their understanding of God is some impersonal, not a person. It's like impersonal understanding of God. So, that's not correct. Can we have Shiva as devotee on altar during Shivaratri? No. As followers of Srila Prabhupada? No. See, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says even Ganesh should be worshipped before worshipping Krishna to remove any obstacles in our worship of Krishna. But Prabhupada said, don't worship Ganesh. Now, is he disagreeing with Rupa Goswami? No. He understands our fickle nature, and we may go to Ganesh and then eventually Muruga and then our Skanda, and then eventually to Parvati and Shiva, and the whole family comes in. All are devotees, Vaishnavi Devi, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Ganesh is, Yat Pada Pallava Yugam Vinidhaya Kumbha Vaishnava. Skanda is, of course, another Vaishnava. So all Vaishnavas only, I'm worshipping devotees because Lord Shiva says, Tadiyanam Samarchanam, greater than worship of Vishnu is worship of devotees, so I am worshipping them. So eventually that will degrade to demigod worship and everything will come in. In Madhva Sampradaya, this is what happened. So Madhvacharya is very clear that all the demigods are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and like that. And eventually, in the Madhva Sampradaya, if you see, they do many demigod worship. Udupi more of Krishna, but in many madhvas they do other demigod worship also. But now, even though the people who do those demigod worship, treating them as devotees and doing something, but the followers, are they having the same understanding? Okay, even as a devotee, suppose, say I understand, Ganesh is devotee and I'm praying to him to remove obstacles in my devotional service, not in my material things. And I'm doing, suppose I put a Ganesh there and I'm doing Arati and, suppose we have like that in the temple. Now, outsider who is coming, he is praying to Ganesh for his materialistic plans. We don't want that to happen. Even if you want to pray for materialistic plans, pray to Radha Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Eventually, they will convert your materialistic plans to spiritual plans. So that is good for you, because material plans are not good for you. So even though I may have the knowledge, the people, what impression what they are getting out of it, unless they of course understand the philosophy and they understand the spiritual, the demigods as part and parcel of Krishna. All this we have to explain to them before they can take to demigod worship in the proper way, as devotees, as not as demigods. Why unnecessary distraction? Give them straight to Krishna. Anyway, Krishna is the origin of all the demigods. So don't introduce something which our Guru did not give us. So Srila Prabhupada did not authorize. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had Gopishwar Shiva in his home. If you go to Godruma Dvipa, you will find Gopishwar Shiva he was worshipping. But it is Gopishwar Shiva to enter the Raslila of Krishna. That is totally different. It's a completely spiritual, very high spiritual, high level spiritual. Raslila, we're talking about, we're nowhere close. So we cannot worship Shiva because it will degrade into demigod worship. And that is the thing we will imply to people when we're introducing them to Krishna consciousness. And then we will, if we will start celebrating Shivaratri, people come here not for, Shiva, oh, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, like this. No, they don't want to come. Om Namah Shivaya, please give me this, please give me that, and materialistic. We don't want that. That's not good for them. That's not good for us. And Lord Shiva also is not pleased. Lord Krishna is also not pleased. Everything is Ashubha in that. Shiva is most happy. If you want to please Shivaratri, Lord Shiva on Shivaratri, please chant, instead of 16 rounds, maybe 64 rounds you chant Hare Krishna. That will please Lord Shiva very much. Okay? What is that? Shiva Shuka Narada Preme Gada Gada Bhakati Vinoda Dekhe Gorara Sampada. So Shiva and everybody is worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chant Hare Krishna. That's the best way to please Lord Shiva on Shivaratri. Acharyas mentioned worship of Ganesh in Bhakti Rasamrita. Please comment. I already commented. Prabhu, your music recitation videos are so amazing. Hare Krishna. Sometimes what I feel, people say, oh, Prabhu, you're so nicely, you're singing. Everybody praises, something. It's, of course, it is nice of them to think like that. I appreciate. But for me, praise is poison. Somehow, I get this kick from people writing nasty comments, attacking me when I speak things against these pseudo gurus, pseudo practices, this Gaur Gopal kind of stuff. When I attack these people, and then people come with arguments, that's what I really enjoy. I'm not saying that, your appreciation, I'm just discounting. Of course, I'm just serving Krishna, and then if others can learn these songs and shlokas, that is the main thing. That's why I put the words there, the translations, so everybody can, follow along, chant along, understand along, and then put it in their lives, and that's the whole point. And I mean, we have to thank our acharyas for writing and composing such nice verses and such nice songs, which we can chant in a melodious tune and remember the pastimes of the Lord. Is just nectar. I mean, that's a blessing. So we are just, I did not compose any of those songs, so it is everything composed by the acharyas. We just sang. But agitating these materialistic people, poking them a bit and like giving them the truth, that is something which is, I find, I mean, my own way, more satisfying. Um, that's why sometimes I say I want to stop these recitation videos for a while, and actually I did stop for a while. I'm not uploading anything there, but of course I want to do more recitation. In fact, but I want to do more of attacking videos also as well. Not that only I'm known for attacking Gaur Gopal and that's it. That's silent. No, so I want to change that. So it is on the way anyway. I'm actually working on it. I'm every day working on it. The first video will be the abortion video, and then after that, Sadhguru. So these are on the way in the pipeline. Oh, so many questions. What is the time now? 10, 5. Why are there so many lusty things written in Brahma Vaivarta Puran? So I did not read Brahma Vaivarta Puran, to be very honest. So what are written there, I do not know. But let us not jump to conclusions. What is lusty? I mean, what is written and what is not written, and in which mood and what is actually being conveyed. Many things I have to see the context, and without reading, I cannot comment. So I do not know what is written in Brahma Vaivarta Puran. But let's stop complaining why this is so, why this is. Or maybe you're not complaining, maybe you just want to understand. Let's read first of all what is given to us by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Read Bhagavad-gītā. Let's go to basics. We are, suppose if you see Geet Govinda, for example, Jayadev Goswami, Radha Krishna's conjugal pastimes. It is, I mean, it looks like, what is this? Like sex, like some porn or something more. But that's not the case. The affairs of Krishna and the gopis are not. Completely on the spiritual platform. We cannot understand them. And therefore, best not to approach them. We're not on that level. We're not. It's completely different from lust. But we will equate it to this because our experience, our understanding is only this. So let us go to the basics. What is actually required? Why am I going to Brahma Vaivarta Puran? First, let's read Bhagavad-gītā properly. Have you read Bhagavatam fully? Have you read Chaitanya Charitamrita fully? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. You have read these books and the small books and the lectures and the conversations of Prabhupada, letters of Prabhupada. When these things have not been done, why we should do something which is, and even if you have done it once, you have read all the books once, read again, because one reading you cannot understand anything. Little you will understand something, but immense, I mean, immeasurably more things are there which we have not even realized that were there. And so, more we read and read and repeatedly read, then we will understand. And let me point you to some verses. Again, first of all, this question is nothing related to our current topic. So I do not know why you all ask questions which are completely unrelated to the topic. You should not be doing this. So anyway, navyakhyam upayunjita narambhan arabhet kvachit. Nasishan arubadhanita granthan naivabhyaset bahun. Granthan naivabhyaset bahun. What is that? Unnecessary literatures should not try to understand or cultivate. Sannyasi must not present allurements of material benefits to gather many disciples, which is what Gaur Gopal is doing and other Sadguru nonsense are doing. Nor should he unnecessarily read many books or give discourses as a means of livelihood. So he should not unnecessarily read many books. And let's go to Adil Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, 16, 11. बहुशास्त्रे बहुवाक्ये चित्ते भ्रम होय, sadhya sadhana shrestha na hoy nischay. If one becomes a bookworm, reading many books and scriptures and hearing many commentaries and instructions of many men, this will produce doubt within his heart. One cannot in this way ascertain the real goal of life. So here he quotes that other Granthan Naivabhyaset Bahun Navyakhyam Upayunjita. That's now the verse we have seen. One should not read many books, nor should one try to make a profession of reciting many books, especially if one is a devotee. One must give up the ambition of to be a learned scholar and in this way earn a worldly reputation and financial facilities. But it's not that, oh, one should give up ambition to become a learned scholar. Okay, Prabhu, I will not read Prabhupada's books anymore. I will just serve, so do something. No, no, no. This we must. This we must know everything. Not to earn a worldly reputation and financial facilities, but for the work of propagating Krishna consciousness, we have to know. That is not for our own reputation. That is for maintaining Prabhupada's reputation, Krishna's, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's reputation. Otherwise, if you are fools, then we will give a bad name to Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, everybody. So, we have to fully. Reputation for personal sake is not encouraged, but for Krishna, one has to have reputation. Our movement has to have reputation. Otherwise, why will people come here? If you are known to be a movement of Buddhus, why will people come here? No, they won't come. Fools. Society of fools. Why will people come? No. One must give up the ambition. Okay. If one diverts his attention to studying many books, he cannot fix his mind in devotional service, nor can he understand many scriptures, for they are full of grave statements and meanings. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives his opinion that those who are attracted to studying many kinds of literature concerning various subject matters, especially fruitive activities and philosophical speculation, are deprived of unalloyed devotional service because of their splayed attention. Very nicely worded. And here he says that the four books, actually, where is that mentioned here? Maybe in this verse? I think there's another word. So Prabhupada says that just reading our books will have all knowledge. So we don't need to go somewhere and somewhere, read something which is not even translated by any devotee and not understand the context and like that. Okay, so there's so many questions. Madhvas, they know that Shiva is the highest Vaishnava, so they through him we can reach Vishnu. How to counteract them? They say that through him we can reach Vishnu. How to counteract them? Well, if you worship Shiva as a devotee, that's fine. But you have to worship in the proper. Now, Brahma is our sampradaya first acharya, but we're not worshipping Brahma and worshipping Brahma puja or something like that. We are accessing the Krishna through the parampara of Brahma, and therefore our respect to Brahma is inherent by our respect to Prabhupada, because Prabhupada is coming in that whole sampradaya, and all when we are offering our respects to Prabhupada, it is to the entire sampradaya of which he is the representative. So through him we are offering our respects to even Narad Muni, Brahma, everybody. So if I want to, of course I can respect Lord Shiva. I don't have to introduce it, especially in our sampradaya. We won't do it. I am not here to convince the Madhvas to do what they have to do. No, I'm here to convince our devotees who are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu according to what Srila Prabhupada, our current Acharya in the Sampradaya, has said. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Shiva temples and demigod temples, but he um, preached to the people there and made them devotees. That's a different issue. So if I can do that, that's well and good. But if I introduce these things, then it will be a contamination. So what Madhvas want to do, I don't want to dictate them. If they are following some, whatever. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and argued with them and then approved, not approved, won against them, the argument, the Tattvavadis. So he argued with them that they were saying Varnashram is the way to go, So he said, no, that's not the end in itself, because that's still with material designations are there. We have to rise above that, and, and our They were saying that we have to achieve liberation and all. No, liberation is not our goal. Bhakti is our goal. Much, 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 much higher than moksha laghutakrit. That is Krishna bhakti. It diminishes the importance of liberation. That high it is. Um, that lofty bhakti is. So that is the thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching them. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught them, of course, to liberate them, but also to highlight to us, because he also spoke to Venkat Bhatt of Sri Sampradaya. He spoke to the Tattvavadis. He spoke to the Qazi, the Muslims. He spoke to the Buddhists. He spoke to everybody. And he established our Sanatana Dharma, especially Sankirtan movement, as the topmost. He established. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, impersonalists, everybody. He took on everyone. And he proved Sankirtan movement is the highest. So, having faith in such a conclusion, we should follow. Now, I'm not here to go and argue with them first. Let me first. And if you really have to meet them and tell them, then yes, if they want to worship Shiva as a devotee, yeah, we should agree, because that's principally on principle that's not wrong. The reason we don't do it is because we know that principle will not be maintained by audience who come to this. Even the same goes to Madhvas also. People who go there go with different ideas. They may understand, but people may not understand. Their whole idea is to make people understand. Are they having proper classes to enlighten people about all these things? I don't know. So, and even if we have classes explaining all these things, but once you introduce that, you have to have a whole big explanation to convince them that this is, and then there will be arguments. No, just bring them to Krishna, Guru Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Krishna, to finish. So everything is Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And if you want to remove obstacles, Narasimhadev, again Krishna. So, and actually the Ganesh that is being worshipped for removing obstacles in devotional service is Vishwaksena, which is actually another form of Vishnu. There is a spiritual Ganesh in the spiritual world who is actually Vishnu, of whom the Ganesh is an expansion in this material world. Of course, Avesha, which is empowered incarnation. The real Ganesh in the spiritual world is Vishwaksena, who is the Supreme Lord, four-handed Narayan. So anyway, that is another issue. But this is the thing. Okay, so Rughu Majumdar again. Scripturally, we have seen Lord Shiva is immortal and eternal as per the Shiva Purana and other Shaiva scriptures. So what does Vaishnavism say about that? Yes, Lord Shiva is milk and Kshiram Yatha Dadhivikara Vishesha Yoga. There is a Sadashiva Loka where he is always there, beyond the material world. He is eternal. He is eternal. And we are also eternal. What to speak of Shiva? We are also eternal. So we are not contesting that. Why we should contest? So he is eternal. Then he, of course, takes birth in this material world. That's another thing. Krishna also may take birth. But Shiva takes birth to conduct certain activities. Like destruction. The activities of destruction are under the control of Shiva. Not only of the pralaya of the universal destruction, but also any destructive thing is actually a Rudra principle. Whether it's destruction of religion, in the form of Shankaracharya, he came and, although representing Vedas, he actually misrepresented the Vedas, of course, on purpose, on the order of Narayana, that's a different thing. But in effect, he destroyed destroyed the space of religion by introducing impersonalism through Vedas, that too. So that's a dangerous thing. So that's a destruction. That is also Rudra principle. And of course, the poisonous snakes, scorpions, spiders, or all these things, poisonous insects and creatures, poison plants, that is also Rudra principle because they kill. And wars, natural disturbances, this is also Rudra principle in action. So these destructive things are Rudra principle. So that is his domain of activities. And of course, as a devotee, he enlightens. Also, he speaks. Like in Bhagavatam, we have the Rudra Gita in the fourth canto, 24th chapter. The entire chapter is Rudra Gita. Lord Shiva is speaking. And exceptional prayers of the Lord Shiva, glorifying Vishnu and instructing the Prachetas. So that is a very important chapter one should read if one has to understand who Lord Shiva really is. So, So he is, of course, he is immortal. And Kshiram Yatha Dadhvikara Vishesha. And he is so powerful that no living entity can become Shiva. We can become Brahma. Brahma we can become if we qualify, but Shiva we can never become. He's beyond. But at the same time, he's not as powerful as Narayana or Krishna. So that is not. So Kshiram. Yatha dadhi vikara. Vikara. This vikara means the transformation. So to deal with this material world, Krishna expands as Lord Shiva to deal with this material world. So he is actually a very close expansion to Krishna. But he is a devotee of Krishna. He should not be equated with Krishna or Narayana. He cannot be. So that is something, that's why Lord Shiva himself, he does not transgress that rule. He always is meditating on his Supreme Lord, Vishnu. We are the ones who have this doubt and arguments and fights and wars and based on this misunderstanding that Shiva and Vishnu are one. They are one and different at the same time. They are one and different at the same time. So Kshiram, milk and yogurt. So from milk you can get yogurt, but from yogurt you cannot get back milk. So Krishna has all the potencies that Lord Shiva has, but Lord Shiva does not have. It's irreversible. From yogurt you cannot get back milk. But milk has all the potencies of yogurt. So in that way it is described. So Shambhu is a state of transformation of Krishna for the purpose of the work of destruction. Samupayati karyat. Karya means duty, particular business. He accepts. The transformation, vikara vishesha, of a special transformation. Yogat, by the application sanjayate, transformed into. So tataha nahi tatah prithagasti hetoh. So he is not prithak. Nahi tatra prithak. He is not separate from the cause. And yet at the same time is not the cause. The yogurt is not separate from milk, but it's not milk. It's a very close relationship between Shiva and Krishna or Narayana. If you are in goodness, how karma's result stops? No, it doesn't stop. One has to transcend goodness to pure goodness. Only then karma will stop. Stitam sattve prasidati. Stitam sattve prasidati means in the 1, 2, 20 of Bhagavatam, one is always situated in the sattva and does not go below. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayascha cheta eteranavidham स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवद्भक्ति योगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसंगस्य जायते भिद्यते हृदय ग्रन्थश्छिद्यते सर्वसंशयाः. So by that transcendental muktasangasya jayate, one who is has released himself from the three modes and engaged in Krishna's service, then all this karma result stops. Okay, next. Wow, it's never ending. What is this going on? What is the difference between Guru and Sri Guru? Same thing. Can by devotion of Shiva can we go back to Godhead? No. No. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahmarudradi Devate Samatvena Viksheta Sa Pashandi Bhavidruvam. So, explain me about Vedas, please. The entire Vedas, Upanishads, everything you have to give a class now. Okay. Summary of the Vedas is Iti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Iti Shodashakam Namnam Kalikalmashanashanam Natah Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. The entire Vedas, the essential instruction is that there is nothing higher than the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So please chant. I explained the Vedas in nutshell. And of course, if you want There is Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopal Nandana, Partho Vatsa Sudhir Gopta, Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. Bhagavad-gītā is the essence of Vedas. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the concentrated essence of Vedas. And another essence of Vedas is Akhila Shruti Saram, which is Bhagavatam. Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi. This is Bhagavatam. So, Bhashyam Brahma Sutranam. This is Bhagavatam. So, this is what you read, this is what you attend classes of, and this is what you chant. Then all Vedas, every knowledge you will have. Okay, next. Where it mentioned that Shiva teaching about Krishna to souls who reach his world. I have to find out that. But there are instances where Lord Shiva came down here to preach about Krishna consciousness. 4th chapter, 24th verse, and also in the 6th canto, not 4th chapter, 24th, 4th canto, 24th chapter of Bhagavatam. And in 6th canto also there is Lord Shiva and Parvati over there, and Chitraketu, all that example. That story, Lord Shiva actually comes and, preaches. So all these things are there. So of course he must be preaching about Krishna consciousness in the Sadashiva Lok. And those who understand that, and they will elevate themselves. If they don't, they will remain there, and maybe, they will not have the full experience. They will not have the experience of Vaikuntha. They may fall down, or they may elevate themselves to highest Vishnu. Although Rupa Goswami is Nitya Siddha, why does he consider himself as lower than a worm? What's the intention or feelings behind it to think like that when they are so exalted? The exalted person thinks of himself as the lowest. The moment I have the hubris of thinking I'm exalted, that's the sign of that's a paradox, you see. That's a sign of a person who is not advanced. Saprashamsa dhruvo mrityuho. There is a saying that Sanatana Goswami quotes in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Saprashamsa dhruvo mrityuho. That self-praise is equal to death. You have killed yourself by praising yourself. So, that's what happens if you praise oneself. So, Sarvottam apana ke hina kore mane. Although a pure devotee standard is above all, he still considers himself to be in the lowest stage of life. That humility, that is convinced that he is in the lowest stage of life. Whereas we are very much convinced. I am actually the pious soul, that Manushyanam Sahasreshya is 1 in a million. I am that. So that's where we are going. Of course, now to argue with that fellow who said that Sadhguru has more followers, we have to say. But personally, objectively, that is the truth. I mean, that those who discuss devotional service are quite rare. But if I identify myself as those Mahatmas, those, great people, and I should be inspired by that, I should be wanting to achieve such a state where not exactly that I want to be known as a Mahatma. No. That I want to surrender to Krishna. Krishna, whether he considers me as Mahatma or Duratma or rascal, that is another thing. So, but I must serve Krishna, I must surrender to Krishna. It is Krishna's unbounded mercy. There is a nice saying, nice verse in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Kinchit karotyurvapi yat svadattam suhrit kritam phalvapi bhurikari mayopanetam prithukaikamushtim pratyagrahid priti yuto mahatma. You know this verse? Spoken by Sudama. 1081:35. The Lord considers even his greatest benedictions to be insignificant, while he magnifies even a small service rendered to him by his well-wishing devotee. Thus, with pleasure, the Supreme Soul accepted a single palmful of the flat rice I brought him. Now, my focus is on this. He magnifies even a small service rendered to him by a well-wishing devotee. Now, he's calling us Mahatma for having surrendered to him not in one life immediately, but after dabbling with our mind and intellect and roaming around like a fool for bahunam janmanam. For bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadate. After many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge, in other words, very slow, manda buddhi. Such manda buddhi is when they finally understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrendered. Arjuna understood it in 1 hour in Bhagavad-gītā. In the beginning, oh, what should I do? I will not fight. Then after the whole thing, okay, Krishna, you are Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am your servant, I will fight according to your order. Finished. Within 1 hour, he understood everything. That's why he is, you know, such high level. He is friend of Krishna. We, manda buddhi, bahunam janmanamante, jnanavan mam prapadade, sa mahatma. Krishna is calling Mahatma. Arey, what aneka janma samsiddhas, like many lifetime, anadi karma phale. I mean, millions and trillions of lives we have spent, and finally we are coming to Krishna. Krishna is calling him Mahatma. He is forgetting all the nonsense that we have done against Krishna for millions of lifetimes and is ready to call us Mahatma just for surrendering after trillions of lifetimes. When he was waiting for us for that time, very hopefully, although we were hopeless. But when we do it, when we surrender to him, oh, he's calling us Mahatma. So when Krishna calls us Mahatma, that is his, you know, magnanimity that he's calling us like that. But it is not really our qualification. If we consider like that, then we will realize actually we are not nobody. I mean, we are a worm in the stool. Worm in the stool was better than me. No, because I've been like a worm in the stool basically. Worms are interested, like you see, there are so many maggots. When a dead body is there, there's so many maggots will come and eat the dead body. Now, if I am also interested in this body, which is actually dead matter, how am I very different from this worm? So, considering themselves like that, oh, we have been in the Nicha Jati, Nicha Sangi, all kinds of low association we had and everything. So, we are worse than the worm in the stool. Like that, you know, they will magnify their imagined bad qualities, devotee. And Krishna will magnify the insignificant good qualities also. Of course, devotees have a lot of good qualities, but even the little bit we do, he glorifies in a great way. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā, whoever preaches my glory is most dear to me. Nobody more dear. But the preacher may maybe make one devotee or 10 devotees or maybe 100, let's say 1,000 devotees, 1,000 devotees who are pure devotees. Vasudev Datta said, please give to me the entire universe, all the karma, and let them go back to Godhead. I will suffer for them. I cannot see them suffering. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Arey, if the entire universe is empty, that is only like one mustard seed gone out of a bag of mustard seeds. There are many millions of universes left. It actually doesn't make any difference. So even if if a devotee preaches in such a way that the entire universe is delivered, he has delivered trillions and trillions and gazillions of souls at once. That is still nothing for him because there are, unlimited number of universes left. So in quantity is not a huge service, but Krishna says that whoever preaches is so, most dear. Not that, oh, I preach, Prabhu, today I distributed book, I'm very dear to Krishna. Huh? Krishna is saying that is his own goodness. He is saying, see, Suhrit Kritam Phalgu api bhurikari. Phalgu means very meager. Suhrit Kritam, by a well-wishing friend. Of course, Sudama was a friend. We are just trying to be devotees. So if we do something even meager quantities, bhurikari, he will make it very great. As if. So this, because he is a bhurikari, Suhrit Kritam Phalgu api bhurikari, therefore, he is calling us, oh, there's no one so much more dear to me. He is a Mahatma. He is a, Mahajan. Big, big words. He is giving us titles. But if we really observe ourselves, where are we? Who am I? Rascal until yesterday. Now am I trying to mend my ways and I'm suddenly Mahatma? So I must see like that. So I should always repent for all the nonsense that I did before. So when the pure devotees consider themselves like that, and then they're teaching us how to think. In Vaishnava songs, if you see, oh, I am the most fallen, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are the known as savior of the fallen, so please save me first because I am the most fallen. Narottam Das Thakur is writing like that. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writing that Asura Sakala Pailo Charana Dvinoda Thakilu Bosi. All the Asuras, Putana, rascal, Kamsa, rascal, Ravana, rascal, and Hiranyakashipu, rascal, Hiranyaksha, rascal. Everybody attained the lotus feet of Krishna. This rascal is staying still in this material world. They have all attained Vaikuntha already. So who is the real rascal here? I am a rascal. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching us Asura Sakala Pailo Charan. They all attend the lotus. All the asuras attend the lotus feet of Krishna. Vinoda Thakilu Bosi. This Bhaktivinoda is still sitting in this material world. So they're teaching us how to think. Hey, yeah, Ravan rascal. I'm like Hanuman. Of course, sometimes when we fight with people, we have to say, "Hey, why are you getting angry? When I'm saying something about Krishna. You're not sadhu." And of course, we have to give Hanuman's example. Hey, Hanuman got angry, because that is service. We are not our reputation is at stake. We are protecting the reputation of what is devotional service, what is spiritual anger, and everything. But honestly, where were we? Yesterday, where were we? So let's be honest. If we are honest, then we will know that we are worse than women in the story. Only if we are not honest, we will consider ourselves anything higher. Is Vishnu incarnation of Krishna? Yes. You can read teachings of Lord Chaitanya for that and Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand this. I don't want to go into that whole discussion now. What are your views on Brahma Kumari Satsang followers? Bogus. Anything created out of a mental concoction of a person is bogus. Brahma Kumari was created by mental concoction. They don't follow the Vedic path. There is one content creator who reacted to your Sadguru video and he said, "You're half-baked Hindu. How idiot they are! How idiot they are! Krishna bless them." Good, no? He gave us some visibility, no? He used his popular channel to popularize what we said about Sadguru. So we should thank him. In fact, in one article, maybe I should take it out. I will go through this anyway, but you see here, this is from the Harmonist magazine. The truth, Satya, is propagated. I'm reading from here. The truth, Satya, is propagated in a twofold way, viz., positively or by the method of direct support, and negatively or by the method of opposition. The truth cannot be made sufficiently known by the positive method alone. Propaganda by the method of opposition, more than the presentation of the positive aspect, brings about more brilliantly in this world the appearance and glorification of the truth. Then he explains. In the Satya Yuga, Hiranyakashipu, more than Prahlad, by adopting the method of negative propaganda, proclaimed greatly the glory of Narasimhadev. We would not have known the ferocity of Narasimhadev and the ferocity with which he protects his devotees if not for Hiranyakashipu. As much as we pray to Narasimhadev, um, because of Hiranyakashipu, Narasimhadev's quality of his ferocious protection of his devotees is known, and we take shelter of that aspect of the Lord, right? So Hiranyakashipu, this is Bhaktisiddhanta's words, not mine. In Satyayuga, Hiranyakashipu, more than Prahlad, by adopting the method of negative propaganda, proclaimed greatly the glory of Narasimhadev. In the Treta Yuga, Ravana, more than Hanuman, proclaimed the greatness of Sri Ramachandra to the world. Why? How? Because Hanuman seemingly actually was looking greater than Ram. He was the one jumping, carrying mountains, finding Sita, and coming back and burning the Lanka and killing what is that? All these big. Of course, he fought with Kumbhakarna, killed by Ramachandra, but he killed so many demons. Even Indrajit, he killed so many. So Ram only was walking like an ordinary human being, but Ravana, when Ram killed Ravana, oh. So, how great of a so the way Krishna fights with these demons is he makes the demons very big, like super powerful, and then he comes and kills them. Now, who is powerful? Of course, Krishna or Ram. So, if that powerful entity can die in the hands of Ram, that means Ram is more, you know, powerful. Ravana was so powerful that the you know demigods were hiding in fear. Same with Hiranyakashipu. Indrajit, Ravan's son was Indrajit. Indrajit means one who has conquered Indra, one who has defeated Indra. The one who has defeated Indra, his बाप, उसका बाप है रावण. His father was Ravan. I mean, what is the caliber of Ravan? Decimated by Ram. So he brought in the glory of Ram by the method of opposition. In Dwapar Yuga, more than the Pandavas, Yadavas, and other devotees, Kamsa, Jarasandha, Shishupal, and the rest as antagonists proclaim the greatness of Sri Krishna. In the Kali Yuga, Jagai, Madhai, Chandkazi, Prakashananda Saraswati, and may I add Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya as well, the professor of Mayavad, Ramachandra Khan, the hater of Vishnu and Vaishnavas, Ramachandra Puri, and in after times, the various hypocrite sects more than the Bhaktas of Gaura have proclaimed the greatness of Gaura and Nityananda to the world by adopting the hostile method. The truth is in all ages propagate. The truth is in all ages propagated in this way by the positive and negative methods. The true message of the Sri Gaudiya Math has spread and is spreading in the world in this manner. See the words of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Of course, it does not mean that no, I will become now the biggest demon and I will preach Krishna consciousness by that. No, it is Krishna's arrangement that these things will appear. So now, for example, many people are saying, you told that in that small video that Sadhguru is rascal, and many people are reacting that big channel, he also reacted, and you see so many people are writing comments, how can you speak like this and all these things. Now, in these classes also we are saying he is rascal, something like that. But how many views these videos are getting? Not much. And that is a short. And especially with the word rascal, some people are saying, oh, they are only listening to the word rascal, Sadhguru is rascal, and then they're not, paying attention to anything else. They're just writing, hey, how can you lose this kind of words and all that. But mind you, because I use the word rascal for that Sadhguru, Asadguru, therefore it has reached that many, 2.2 million views on the 2.3 million views on that other channel which he reacted to me, and in our own channel like 300 over 1,000 views, just because of that word rascal. If I would have said Sadhguru is a great guy or something like that, it would have not reached any. Opposition reached more. So sometimes what use this. These are propaganda tactics, and of course it's not just a tactic; it's a truth. It's just that it's very bluntly put, without much sophistication of euphemism or anything like that. So it will trigger polarizing reactions, which is expected, and it's fine, totally fine. I would take it as a plus. I would take that exposure as a trailer to the real movie which is going to come out. So let that be the trailer, and let it create some yeah hype for the movie that is going to come. So let it be. At least people will recognize this guy said something about Sadhguru. Okay, then when the video comes, they may see. And it's not just to gain some attention. I just want a narcissist. I want some attention. No, we want at least some people to understand what the truth is. And if even one person can be changed from him to become a devotee of Krishna, I would consider that video a success. This whole endeavor and all the insults that I got, everything, I would consider all that a success if even one person can be turned from that rascal to surrender to Krishna. All right. Subhodeep. These questions are not ending. It's becoming an AMA session now. What is this? It is written in Kurma Puran that Pancharatra scriptures are written to increase bhakti of Vishnu or Shiva. What are your thoughts on this? Because Vaishnavas derive their teachings of Pancharatra, especially of Vishnu. Narada Pancharatra and even other Parvata Pancharatra and so other Pancharatras are there, 5. So all that is especially for Vishnu worship. Yeah, ours is Pancharatra. That is our Agama. Especially in a time like Kali Yuga, Pancharatras work. If you follow the pure Vedic way, there's nobody is qualified. Even the so-called Brahmin is not qualified, and anybody is also not qualified. But by Pancharatra method, yes, this Diksha Vidhan is all there in the Pancharatra. So according to time, systems are put in place by great acharyas, which we have to follow. Why is Puranas divided into three types? Well, three guna. Where were we before our birth in this world? In another body. What kind of question is this? I mean, classification of Puranas is different in five Puranas. Which one is authentic? Well, to understand, so I have not read all these classifications in all the five Puranas, whichever Puranas you're mentioning, but now we have to understand it through the Acharya to understand why they're classified in a certain way. Today morning also, what is that verse which Prabhu was showing to me? Sundar Prabhu was showing to me. Um, Let me try. I'll give you an example. Okay. 11 to 6. Okay. Let's see this. Bhajanti ye yatha devan deva ape tathaiva tan chayeva karma sachivaha sadhavo dīnavatsalaha. Those who worship the demigods receive reciprocation from the demigods in a way just corresponding to the offering. The demigods are attendants of karma, like a person's shadow, but sadhus are actually merciful to the fallen. Now, here, there's something interesting in the purport. So, sadhus are more merciful than demigods, is what is said in the verse, right? In the purport, though, there is this verse by Madhvacharya. Okay. Therefore, karmis and jnanis, because of their dissatisfaction and artificially trying to fulfill their own desires, can show no actual mercy to the fallen souls. In this regard, Sri Madhvacharya has quoted the Uddama Samhita. Sukhamichanti bhutanam prayo dukha nirnam tathapi tebhyah pravara deva eva hareh priyaha. Rishis want happiness for all beings and are almost always incapable of tolerating the unhappiness of men. Nevertheless, demigods are superior because they are very dear to Lord Hari. So, here, like, what is this? Exact opposite, isn't it? So, but although Srila Madhvacharya has placed the demigods in a higher position than the merciful rishis, Srila Jiva Goswami has stated, Sadhavas tu na karmanugataha. The sadhus are actually better than the demigods because the sadhus are merciful regardless of the pious or impious acts of the conditioned souls. Sadhavas tu na karmanugata. They don't follow the karma of the person, they just are merciful to anybody. This apparent disagreement between Madhvacharya and Jiva Goswami is resolved. Krishna. This is what I don't like. I touch something and it goes somewhere. Okay, so this apparent disagreement between Madhvacharya and Jiva Goswami is resolved by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who points out that in the statement of Srila Madhvacharya, the word rishi or sage, of course, in this verse there is no rishi there, but I think maybe the previous verse something, and this is a continuation of that. We have to see what he was writing. So, the word rishi or sage indicates the so-called sadhus or saintly persons among the karmis and jnanis. So, actually, this is there's a point explained in the book Brahmana and Vaishnava. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Paramahamsa, the word Paramahamsa, of course, as devotees, we understand that the topmost devotee is Paramahamsa. But even among Jnanis, there is the word Paramahamsa. So, among lesser known people also, there is sometimes the word use of Paramahamsa. And even Among Vaishnava circles, the ones who perfectly do deity worship and the rituals and everything, they also are sometimes called Paramahamsas. And that is in the Pancharatra Vidhi. Paramahamsa is, so there's a degree. Not all Paramahamsas are of the same standard. According to who is using the word Paramahamsa, according to his own understanding of what Paramahamsa is. So, of course, the highest understanding of Paramahamsa is the topmost devotee. But those who are of a lower standard, even though calculated as Kanishta Adhikaris in the Bhagavad Vidhi, who are deity worship, you know, uh, deity worshippers, third class devotees, I mean, in the beginning stages of devotional service, even they are considered as Paramahamsas in other sects of Vaishnavism where the higher aspects, like for example Madhvacharya, Madhvas, they are into the rituals and the deity worship. What is love of Godhead to the max, like what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed, that much knowledge is not there. And even in Sri Sampradaya, rituals, deity worship, and everything very opulent. But as you can understand between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Venkata Bhatt, that conversation, Sri Sampradaya, they worship until Dasaras. Lakshminarayan worship is there, and then there's Dasaras. And Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, these things are not as much revealed. Now, we are not saying that, there is something very small position. It's a very high position. But still, the point is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the highest. So, compared to that, even the very high positions are comparatively lower. So, according to their understanding what Paramahamsa is, even among Vaishnava, and what to speak of even Jnanis and Karmis, especially in this way, in this purport, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, it is the Paramahamsas among the Jnanis and Karmis, because, for example, they call somebody Mahatma Gandhi. Now, he actually proved himself to be a joker, to be very generous. He proved himself to be a joker. If you really see what he has really done, many things were masked in our history. That's another thing. Now, whatever. Now, he has been called Mahatma. So, among the Karmis, they will think he is a Mahatma. But among the devotees, they don't consider him as a Mahatma. So, Jnanis, in speculators, whoever is the greatest Jnani, he is a Mahatma. For a cricketer, Sachin Tendulkar is a Mahatma. Greatest of all time. GOAT. Nowadays, they say GOAT. Bakra, actually. Greatest of all time. GOAT. Oh, in soccer, some let's say Pele or what is that? Ronaldinho, what Messi or something. So these people are like greats. So every sphere of activity there is some great, and that is treated as like Paramahamsa. Or among warriors, maybe some among martial artists, maybe Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, or something in modern martial arts. And other warriors, we have Arjuna, who was the greatest archer of his time. Of course, Bhishma Dev was there, but he defeated all of them, of course, by the blessing of Krishna. But these everybody was known like that as the highest in their sphere. So rishis may not always be nasavrishiryasya matam na bhinnam. So every rishi, every muni will have his own idea of philosophy. So rishis, of course, pure, they may also want good. Like even an ordinary moralist, he wants to do good to society. He wants to open schools. In his idea, that is good. But the schools will give atheistic education and make them into atheists and believe and become disbelievers in God. That's he doesn't consider. So for those people who believe that kind of charity, he is a Mahatma. So in that way, Bhaktisiddhanta, this apparent disagreement between Madhvacharya and Jiva Goswami is resolved by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that these rishis are referring to saintly persons among the karmis and jnanis. They are not really saintly persons. But ordinary fruitive workers and speculative philosophers certainly consider themselves to be at the summit of pious morality and altruism. However, since they are ignorant of the supreme position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be considered equal to the demigods, who are all devotees of the Lord and aware that all living beings are eternal servants of the Lord. Even such demigods, however, cannot be compared to the pure devotees such as Narada. See, this is the Rishi. Devarshi, he is called Devarshi, Narada. He is also Rishi, Devarshi, sage among the demigods. Now, demigods cannot be on the level of Narada. But the ordinary rishis of this world, or so-called sadhus of this world, among the karmis and jnanis, they cannot be compared to the demigods. The demigods are very higher. Such pure devotees are empowered to award the highest perfection of life to both pious and impious living beings who have only to follow the orders of such pure devotees. So, now the whole point here is classification of your question is classification of Puranas is fine, five different, indifferent in by five Puranas, which one is authentic. Now, to understand the apparent contradictions in opposing viewpoints can be harmonized by another pure devotee who really understands the whole picture or the whole broader, you know, and who has the insight, who has spiritual insight, who is a pure devotee, who knows the signs of Jai Krishna Tattvavetta Shai Guru Hoy. So such a guru who knows the signs of Krishna can harmonize any apparent disagreements properly. But if we, with insufficient um, ammunition of knowledge or of realization or of devotion, we may not sometimes be able to harmonize these differences. We may say, hey, why Madhvacharya and Jiva Goswami are fighting? So, but no, that's not the thing. Harmonized by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So now we have a proper understanding. So that's why we have to read through the Acharya. So not jump in, So I personally do not know what is the classification of Puranas in the five Puranas. I do not know. I do not know even what you're asking. If I come across it and I understand it, maybe I can explain. At this point, I can't. How can we get Prema Bhakti? Follow for Sadhana Bhakti properly, and then when that becomes steady and steady for many years, then that since let's see Prema Bhakti will come. So it is written in Bible. Okay, you are all jumping everywhere. It has become an AMA session now. This is not good. Please learn how to ask questions. It is written in Bible that what God has blessed for you, nobody can curse. Is there any similar verse in our Sanatana Dharma scriptures? Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. If Krishna wants to protect, nobody can kill. If Krishna wants to kill, nobody can protect. Krishna wants to bless, nobody can curse. If Krishna wants to curse, nobody can bless. It's a Bengali thing, saying. Gaudiya Sampradaya is from Krishna? Yes. Your name is Gaurnita Das and you don't know anything. What kind of questions you're asking me? Huh? You see the Bhagavad-gītā introduction last page. You will see our Sampradaya. What are you saying? Parashakti means Krishna conscious? No, Krishna's superior energy, which is the living entities. Or sometimes Adi Parashakti, which is the spiritual Yogamaya. We are Parashakti and are not Aparashakti. In that way, we are superior than Aparashakti. Aparashakti is material nature, Parashakti is we. And Adi Parashakti, which is the Yogamaya, which is also spiritual energy, but not like us. So, she's the attendant of the Lord. Today's class is cool like moonlight. Generally, most of your classes are vigorous. We feel mercy slaps even when you are expressing about agitating materialistic satisfies you. It you'll satisfies it. You said like I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't know what you're talking about anyway. Feel like mercy slaps. Okay, today was not enough slaps. What is your view about Vivekananda as a personality? Yeah, he is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know the aim of life. He rattled his tongue and many people appreciate him. See, people, okay, don't ask me who Vivekananda is, who this person is, who that person is, Sadguru. You just read Bhagavad-gītā and śrī-bhagavān. You will be able to judge any personality, whatever his name, whatever his personality, because the symptoms of a pure devotee, the symptoms of a rascal are all mentioned in the Bhagavad-gītā and śrī-bhagavān. And you can just use that tool of knowledge, that test tube, and use it on any person. You can find whether he is a saint or not. So don't ask this person, that person, this person, that person. Read our books. You will be able to judge any person. That is what I would say. Okay, somebody is writing in Sanskrit. I will just ignore it. Okay. Today's class is very cool and nice. Okay. Yeah, the weather is also quite chilly, cool. Okay, then. Thank you all very much. Taken too much time, 11 o'clock. Okay. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, Ananta Koti Vaishnava. I finished this class at 9:30, 1.5 hours. You asked me questions. Okay, something. Okay, something here. We have Shankar Bhagava, Bhagavat Pad. Okay, Shankar on record, who has declared in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya 2:45 that the Pancharatra Agama is a product of denigration of Veda by Shandilya. Well, let him say whatever he wants. He had an agenda. We know Narada Pancharatra is not some Shandilya thing. This Pancharatra Agama given by Narada Muni is perfectly authorized. And Shankaracharya himself, let me say, he himself went on record, Lord Shiva went on record saying that I will appear as Brahmana in Kali Yuga and distort the Vedas like anything on the order of Narayana. And anybody who studies this will become destroyed. So, there is that. Alright, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.